spice up your life.
This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubanga. 2 directors of a school in Kisumu, Uasin Gishu County, have been arrested for administering fake Kenya primary school education assessment examinations to 23 candidates. The directors of Silver Bells Academy, including a father and his son, were apprehended by education and security officials who raided the school while the unsuspecting students were taking the examinations. Uasin Gishu County Director of Education Gitonga Githiringi confirmed the arrest, stating that the school was not registered as an examination center. The fate of the 23 candidates who sat the exam for now remains uncertain. Opposition leaders are now demanding the swift gazettement of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission selection panel to facilitate the formation of the electoral body led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his DAPK counterpart Eugene Wamalwa. The leaders claimed that the delay in forming the IEBC was a deliberate tactic by the state to stifle democracy in the country. They further referenced last week's nomination of Dr. Koki Muli as Azimio La Umoja's representative on the IEBC selection panel, highlighting that despite forwarding her name to the Parliamentary Service Commission along with 8 other nominees, their names have yet to be gazetted.
It is obvious they want to prolong this whole thing about establishing a new IEBC. We say it plainly.
So we are here as the opposition to demand immediate gazettement of the IEBC selection panel.
The leader's father accused National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula and National Assembly Clerk Samuel Njoroge of sitting pretty on the 9 names instead of forwarding them to President William Ruto for gazettement.
There has been no movement in Parliament deliberately to delay this process. Who should move with speed to put in place the new IEBC, and we should stop these shenanigans and sideshows that have caused the delay for all this period.
And police in Kitale were forced to shoot in the air to save a bus from being set ablaze. According to the police, the bus was allegedly ferrying refugees after it knocked and killed a loader near Mwangaza Studio. The Immigration Department has announced the acquisition of 2 new passport printing machines, a move aimed at streamlining passport processing and significantly reducing waiting times for applicants. Principal Secretary Julius Kibet Bitok stated that with the new equipment in place, the department now can print up to 10,000 passports daily. Bitok acknowledged the extended wait times Kenyans have faced in recent months, with processing sometimes taking as long as up to 3 months. Addressing the backlog, he urged Kenyans with pending applications to collect their passports from various designated centres, noting that over 90,000 passports remain unclaimed nationwide. Environment Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has linked the miseries befalling the ousted Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to the enmity he built between him and his fellow leaders in Kenya Kwanza, and especially those from Mount Kenya. Duale said Gachagua's tendency to alienate potential allies in the political arena ultimately led to his impeachment, making him the first sitting deputy president in Kenya's history to be removed from office.
He invested, let me use the right word, he invested more in creating enemies than friends. That's why you saw, it has never happened in the history of the Kenyan legislature for 282 members to vote in favor of a motion. And go to the Senate, I was following, I think, the lowest charge which the House impeached on, there were 49 senators.
And Duale emphasized at this point by referencing Gachagua's public disputes with key political figures, including digital strategist Dennis Etumbi and the president's personal assistant Farouk Kibet.
You ask me, it's good to invest in friends. And I think the current former deputy president, he invested more in fighting people from his backyard and everywhere, including fighting small people like Dennis Itumbi, Farouk Ibet. You know, when you are big, you don't come to ground zero. You stay up.
That's the news why I'm Leah Umaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo. You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
That is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
End month traffic, nothing much on the road right now, so let's see how it will be looking like in about half an hour. But you can guess, Jogoo Road is clear. It's Landy's Road that will have an issue as you get into that market that we call the retail market. The other parts of the city are still moving okay. Let's see how they'll be looking like in about an hour or about an hour and a half peak traffic time.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Tunafunga mwaka. This is it. October is the end of the year. From this point on, it's clear. It is just downhill. It went south. It's a blur.
It's now New Year.
Yes. This is those 2 months, 8 weeks or thereabout, where you don't remember what happened. Like tulikutana.
Okay, so
January. Was that hiyo ilikuwa lini? Hey. Mimi na wewe.
Right.
Okay.
Ilikuwa wapi?
Okay.
All right.
Oh, well, nice to see you again.
Nashukuru sana bwana.
Wee.
Umekamata blank.
Kabisa. So we're getting to the end of the month, and this is it. Ndu is unfortunately unwell, feeling a little bit under the weather today, so not coming in. But we are here. Sisi ndio tuko. Na sisi ndio tumeamua. Sisi ndio tuko. Na tunafunga nini?
Mwaka.
Tunafunga mwaka. Siti.
Watu wanasema ni mwezi, lakini ni mwaka.
Ni mwaka. Ni mwaka. Kabisa. Sikia hii. Hey, who says November is not here? Nani
anayesema November haipo hapa?
Nani huyu unasema? Yeye nani? My friend. You know, for a long time we sang this song as Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru.
Mimi nilijua ni hivyo tu. Hata sasa bado najua. Kwa nini hawakwenda Nakuru? Walienda wapi?
Atijui ise na Kenai. So they say na Nairobi, but then it's Yailodi Mombasa.
You Nairobi baba.
Then at some point when they get now to the nini, twende Nairobi tumwimbie baba Mombasa.
Wajua? Anyway.
That one.
Evergreen.
Kabisa. Lydiah, thank you. You see, even Lydiah was dancing. You should have come in here, Lydiah, so I'd just dance together.
Lydiah can dance.
Lydiah can. Wee.
Unajua kusakata rumba.
Miondoko dada naye huyu dada. ameondokwa nayo.
Nasikia Jumamosi hii Saturday Carnival
kabisa.
Udada atakuwepo.
Carnival hapa
grounds Nairobi.
Nakuja kucheza ngoma.
Na wale wapendaji wa rumba wote, mashabiki wa rumba.
Very good. Carnival.
Wasikose kwenda
Saturday. This one November the 2nd.
Yes. Carnival ground.
Yes. Wow. She will be joined by the legendary Bana OK Jazz, an offshoot of the legendary TPOK Jazz Orchestra of the late Franco. Bana OK are led by Manda Shante after the death of its former leader Simaro Masia in 2019.
My friend.
Carnival.
Rumba extravaganza.
Tunajaza sisi wote pale. They are not ready. Carnival are not prepared. Carnival are not prepared.
Yani hawana habari.
Hawajui. Mbili ya bell.
Yes.
My friend. Yeah, transgenerational.
Actually it is, This song is what you call a classic.
Completely.
Yes.
There's I've seen videos of younger generation, actually, even Gen Alphas singing this particular song.
My friend, when you're born with an old soul, you're born with an old soul.
Kabisa.
If you're a lover of music,
yes,
it transcends time and generations.
Ikiingia kwenye damu.
Yes.
Inakaa pale kwenye damu. Hello everybody, welcome to the end of October, welcome to November. Please, let's remember, as we close the show today, we say we'll be gone till November.
Yeah, we'll be gone till November.
Lydia, remember that one? We play that one. We're gone till November. We'll be gone till November. January, February, March, April, May. Hiya. Let me tell you what we shall be discussing on this day. Thursday, our conversations today are going to center around matters of justice. Our Justice Thursday conversation today is going to be full. First of all, we start with justice for children and enhancing child justice through preliminary inquiry and diversion. So you don't have to go and cram children through the court process, which is just completely thing. Now, there's somebody who is the chairperson of the NCAJ Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children. And this is the National Council for the Administration of Justice. Justice Teresia Madeka, very, very passionate about these matters of children.
Yes, she's been our guest.
Yes.
Yeah,
and she tunes into the show every so often, as much as she's able to. She'll be joined by the Honorable Rose Getao, who is the magistrate at the Milimani Children's Court. Now, we are having the highest level of children representation here. The chair of the NCAJ Committee on Justice for Children and the magistrate in the Children's Court joining us at 7 a.m. That is the discussion we'll be having. 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by the president of the Law Society of Kenya, Faith Odhiambo, Supreme Court ruling, legality of the Controversial Finance Act of 2023, and all these other things that are happening in court. What are we seeing from the courts? Particularly after this delivery of the judgment of the Supreme Court, there was all this, issue of, is the Supreme Court supreming the court, or is it courting the Supreme? Supreme issues coming out of there. The president of the LSK will come and let's have a conversation. At what time? At 8. And then at 9. Now remember, the city mortuary, which Sakaja has renamed the Nairobi Funeral Home, has already announced that they have many bodies unidentified and many have stayed there. And the law says once bodies stay in mortuary for a certain duration of time and they haven't been claimed by any relative, loved ones, whatever, then it is incumbent upon the government to actually now go and bury those bodies. Mm-hmm. Okay? So over 120 bodies at the city mortuary have been unclaimed. We'll be joined by a forensic specialist, Dr. Maina, who will come and talk to us about that forensic human identification, the challenges and the ethical implications of unidentified bodies. Because that's the thing that we keep saying. How is it possible that we have bodies lying in hospital, in a morgue? These people, let's assume they are adults. They had an ID. There's a national registration service in government that has everybody's IDs. Plus what? Biometrics, fingerprints. They are family members that have DNA. There are people, even if they've reported to a chief, who have said, our person has gone missing, we haven't seen so and so in so long. How is it possible that you have people who have actually turned up dead at City Mortuary and other mortuaries and stayed for months without anybody claiming? What's the disconnect? So the forensic specialist will be joining us at that time, so we can ask ourselves all these questions, and she can give us, so what are the challenges in law and what are the challenges in practice? 20 minutes after 6, let me give you a quick look at how the weather will be looking like, and then we'll hear CT's, it's not the final proverb. Okay.
Final proverb is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow?
Yes.
Today is just the final day of the month, not the final day of the week.
No, it is not.
I see. Sawa basi.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Okay, so expect a warm Nairobi today, highs of 28 in Kakamega, highs of 30, 32 in Mombasa, 32 in Malindi, highs of 30 in Kisumu, highs of 29 in Nakuru. Expect highs of 28 in Nyeri. Expect a sunny day and with highs of 26 in Eldoret. Also, if you look into the region, you'll find that Kampala is just like Kenya, 29 are the highs there. Kinshasa, 31 the highs. Lagos, 32 highs. Johannesburg, 26. The highs of 31 in Mogadishu, highs of 20 in Addis Ababa, highs of 30 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 15 in Paris, 15 in London, 24 in New York, and 17 in Beijing.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Basi, twende kabisa. Richard Odera says, good morning, Spice, Arican City. Good Rumba dancers, eh? Yeah, Saturday, my friend. Saturday. Carnival. Hassan Ajuk, I'm waiting for the explanation of 120 unclaimed bodies in the area. Yeah. We are also waiting for that kind of, just to get to understand. Eric Wall says, good morning. Christian Munai, good morning from Kuala Lumpur. Great tunes. Bernardo Kello, good morning from Doha. Wishing you all a healthy day. Washoga Toto, beautiful song. Good morning, Spice Team. Bye October. Yes, indeed. Eurodet, what a vibe. Zachary, okay. Good morning, Spice family. Mbilia Bell in the house. Kabisa. Silas Owiti, Team Spice. Good morning. Vivian Mutimba. Vivian Mutimbia. Good morning, City and Eric. I'm all smiles, waking up to you two, dancing at 6 in the morning. What a beautiful day ahead. Oh, yes, indeed. We hope it stays this way. Aga Khan. Eric, wachana na kazi ya Fred Obachi. He has that off. Fred Obachi is unmatched, my friend. That guy, you
ni ligi ingine bwana.
Ligi yake bwana ile.
Yes.
Kamata position. Eunice Okello, not fire test. No. It's Mbilia Bell. Yeah. Sandra Sherie, good morning. Eunice Okello, Agri Momanyi, Surat, Anthony Karanja, Josephat Wakangu, Karo Nyambura. You're having a blast, Erican City. My friend, you don't know. Michael Ashira Maina, Cyrus Kalasinga, Jay Harper, Washington Okechi, from Massachusetts, Karibu sana. Rose Grace, good morning. Blessed day ahead. Paula Tundu, hope she feels better soon. Yes, indeed. Chris Kaduong, good morning from KU, main campus. Tunakusikiza pia. Jay Harper, we've said good morning to you. Octine, Dominica Buga, Onganyi Malala, Pap D, James Kamau. Pap D says, Ndu Adaize has a new throne with the hot seats. So we can be part of Ndu's Spice Monarchy. Leo, good morning. Mashari Anjero, karibu sana. Don Sabwa, do you have a broad-based government? City, what is broad in this government? It is the base.
Which is broad.
Yes.
Focus on the base.
It's a base that's broad. That's what it's called, a broad-based government. City, the proverb today.
Yes, we are still in the state of Libya. One of the things that happened after the 1969 coup by Muammar Gaddafi, he introduced a socialist state. Socialist peoples, Libya, Arab, Jamahiriya. Okay?
That's what he called it.
Well, that's what it was later
Socialist peoples, Libya, Arab, Jamahiriya.
Yes, in 1969 it wasn't called that, but when you go to 1977 is when he called it that. And for those who interpret his leadership, say that because there was no known opposition as such, and people who dared oppose him, should we say, there were those who went to the afterworld, it was called a dictatorship. But what is often forgotten is that the so-called common mwananchi in Libya saw a period of benefit and growth that they had never witnessed before. Yes.
They saw that socialism working.
Oh, it worked.
For them.
Oh, it worked. It worked. There are many things that change irrevocably. But on the subject of human rights, that's a discussion for another day. Okay?
Well, if you're getting water and services and hospital and all, see there, your human rights are sorted.
You know, there's always this small matter of how you interpret democracy and how you interpret freedom. Okay? And there are many who would tell you that they had freedom. The same was said of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. And yet, because of his socialist policies, people who had otherwise been consigned to obscurity suddenly were able to go to college, go to university. Many lives were changed. Irrevocably changed. Yes. So some of these things, it depends on who's speaking and what they are saying. Or more specifically, what they're not saying. This proverb I liked completely. It speaks to the present and it speaks to the future. Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
That's it.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes. That's a good one.
Chini mzuri.
Kabisa. Let's look at the headlines. The Standard, no hiding as KRA spies on your money. Where? Faced with increased government spending and limited revenue-generating avenues, President Ruto's cash-strapped government is resorting to aggressive measures to boost revenue. KRA has written to banks and telcos to integrate tax systems to bank accounts and digital money in a move that has drawn strong protests over implications on personal data privacy. 7 million is the number of people who have KRA PIN numbers, but 30 million, over 30 million, the number of registered M-Pesa customers who are transacting billions every day. Now Ruto is like, those 30 million that are transacting, why are they not in? Why they don't they have PIN numbers?
Small consideration here. You should ask, how many Safaricom lines are you legally allowed to have?
Many.
Precisely. Now, there are many people who have more than one number to answer Hapo. So in the 30 million may not represent 30 separate individuals. It may simply mean that there are 30 lines. However, it does not detract from that conversation. Yes. It is the issue of the individuals being 30 million as opposed to a lesser number that I'm talking of.
Now, the question is, why is KRA not attracting people to register their PINs? To register for a PIN number? Why?
What are they not doing?
I mean, why would people fear registering for PIN number with KRA?
Better still,
we register for ID and we want to get an ID.
Yes.
Right? When you register for an ID and you want to get an ID, the next thing that you want to do is you get a bank account.
Yes.
So, are you saying that we only have 7 million banked people?
No, that's not true.
So, if you have more people who have bank accounts, how come those people don't have PIN numbers?
You cannot have a bank account without a PIN number.
Exactly.
You can't.
Exactly.
In fact, you can't transact anything in this country without a PIN number.
Exactly.
Yes.
Why is it that, why do we have to have all these things? Register for an ID today, tomorrow register for NSSF, tomorrow register for SHA, register for KRA.
See, the idea to sort these things out.
Yeah.
And it's the same PIN, same ID.
Exactly. Exactly. This thing is... Anyway, that's KRA's issues. Now they're coming to see, they want to see how you're transacting, so that they come and tell you, where hii pesa yako ni mingi sana. Woman seized in hand for Willis Ayeko's killers. and this is the boss of which company, City?
It's called Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, the former HR boss who was found murdered.
They keep saying that there's this little matter of some money which got lost while in transit.
Yeah.
And he was among the people investigating it.
You'd expect it, he was a HR boss.
He is the HR boss. And of course, once that is mentioned, then immediately we enter allegation zone.
Yeah.
Where we're saying perhaps it is this investigation that ran afoul of some individuals.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we look at that story. Man missing amid rising abduction cases. My goodness. What's happening in this country? Anxiety as Kenya awaits crucial IMF loan decision. Kenya is anxiously waiting the executive board of the International Monetary Fund, which was to sit in Washington yesterday to discuss a critical multi-billion-dollar loan disbursement that economists are warning is crucial for Kenya's economy and could have far-reaching implications for its trajectory and the country's access to international financing. If IMF give us money, then we look good. If IMF does not give us money, then we don't look good. Harris versus Trump, Russia is shaping poll narratives. Those are the headlines in the Standard. Let me tell you what's in the Daily Nation. It's D-Day for Iggy. The High Court will today decide whether to lift an order blocking the swearing-in of Deputy President-designate Professor Kithure Kindiki as sought by the Attorney General and Parliament. A 3-judge bench will also rule whether the High Court has powers to determine the petitions challenging the ouster of Rigathi Gachagua. It is today. Okay?
So essentially you're telling me that today is whether they'll decide whether it is Riggy or it is G.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, whether they're rigging the G. Law changes. Parliament rejects Ruto jobs offer to opposition figures. The president is seeking an amendment to the constitution to create the office of leader of opposition. This thing will come. My friend, just prepare yourself. These guys are prepared, hook, crook, and everything else to amend this constitution. The only thing is prepare for the referendum, vote no. So,
yeah.
Evil too. Pressure. The British have threatened to withdraw funding to key projects should abductions continue. The headline in the Daily Nation today. What UK, US want from Ruto. United States Federal Bureau of Investigations Director Christopher Wray was here in Kenya. CIA Director William J. Burns has been here in Kenya twice. Chief of the Secret Intelligence Service, that's MI6. Is it 6 or 7?
It is 6, Baba.
Okay.
Kuna ile 5. Kuna 15 na kuna 15.
Hawajaongezeka?
No, bado wako pale.
Okay.
Pale.
Yeah. Richard Moore of the UK has also been here. Now, the story is saying an upgrade of Kenya's security surveillance system and establishment of another US military base featured in separate talks between President Ruto and foreign intelligence chiefs. Nation has established. CIA Director William Burns and Britain's MI6 chief Richard Moore has also expressed concern with abductions and the manner in which state agencies are targeting human rights defenders. Yeah, they've expressed concerns.
Well, that's what we are being told. What really did they come and say? Kwa sababu sidhani ni peke yake walisema.
Haya. 5.3 billion shillings that are split, striking dons and the state. This is the story looking at. So what's the issue? Why are lecturers back on strike? Right? We are many. We can work else anywhere.
Don't joke with educated,
with us.
With educated people.
Yes. Can work anywhere. Suspect in murder of Wells Fargo boss had a violent robbery case. Hey. Okay. Concern as 97 women are killed in 3 months. 97 women have been killed in 3 months. Remember there was a story yesterday where human rights organizations were calling on the government to call femicide a national emergency issue.
Yes.
Higher. There's a story which is on page 2 of the Daily Nation. Patients suffering from chronic diseases are struggling to get treatment as hospitals demand cash because of challenges with the new health system. They have a photo here of one of those patients, and the headline here says, "Stop sending us to early graves. Chronically ill patients cry over SHIF crisis." City, we'll look at that story.
We shall.
Yeah.
We shall.
Tell us about the Business Daily and the Star.
Right, let's look at the Business Daily, shall we?
Yeah.
KTDA Dubai unit loses 122 million tax fight. This one is not quite what it sounds. There's a UAE UAE-based tea trading firm, actually, which is owned by a subsidiary of the giant Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA Holdings. This one, so essentially it's a KTDA company, has lost a fight. The fight was to block 122 million tax claim by KRA. They've been told, pay. Yes.
Or get out.
Pay. Middle East conflict threatens fertilizer plan. An escalation of conflict in the Middle East could raise global costs of producing fertilizer in 2025. I wonder why and how. New World Bank projections, not New World Bank, okay, showed casting a shadow on Kenya's fertilizer subsidy program, meaning if the escalation of conflict in the Middle East continues, we will not have fertilizer. Okay? Story can be told later. Regulator secures job in Access Bank buyout of National Bank of Kenya. There is a bank called Access Bank. They've been told, okay. Competition Authority have said it is okay. You can buy National Bank. And also, KCB, who own National Bank, have also said it is okay. Okay, you buy. But the regulator said, no, guys, there's a condition here. You must retain at least 80% of the employees who worked for National Bank.
For at least how long? For at least a year?
Yes.
Very good.
At least they must continue working. Makes perfect sense, really. They know the lay of the land and they'd be useful.
Yes.
But there are those who said, national treasures are being sold. Whoa. Well, we are a country of wonderful diversity, including, and not to exclude naysayers. See, if we sell, we get money. It's not free. Unit trusts sell bonds to buy stock as interest rates drop. Unit trusts have sold part of their bond holdings to invest in NSE-listed stocks amid a decline in returns from government securities. Hiyo ni biashara. Yes, very good. Then we're looking at Standard Group former CEO fight over WhatsApp text. This is a fight that has been there between one Mr. Bharat Taka and the Kenyan marketing company WPP Scan Group, okay? And this Mr. Thaka was its founding chief executive officer. This battle has been going on for some time. All right? Right, now, back in the middle of the paper, how 175 billion roads bond caused rise in fuel prices. Treasury approves road board's request to issue bond. Trade and Development Bank picked as lead arranger, the guy who arranges these things. Okay? Right. Now let me look at what the Star has to say. Top right-hand corner, Intel Green. Former IEBC boss Oswago, he was the CEO, to appeal verdict of 1.3 billion tender graft case. The story on page 9. When you read the story, a magistrate court had said him and a certain gentleman called Cholet had not quite followed the tender regulations, okay, when offering tender of 1.3 billion shillings for this and that. And were so told, you're found guilty. Said, no, let's take it to the High Court. There's a Justice Sifunda who has said, actually, me have looked at this thing. Everything they told you is true. It holds.
So, nyinyi ndani.
Nyinyi guilty. Just so that you understand. My friend Oswago was IEBC boss a long time ago. Wheels of justice move slowly but very surely. Raila Party gags members on deal with President Ruto. Opposition chief Raila Odinga's party has cautioned members against making unsanctioned public comments on the political deal with President William Ruto's UDA. In a communication, Ombenyi bwana, shut up.
Unsanctioned comments.
Whatever that means. In a communication exclusively seen by the Star, the party has instructed all its elected leaders to consult with minority leader. Excuse me. Before pronouncing themselves on sensitive party matters. Scare. Stop telling people how much you don't and what don't. Okay? Mystery of 18 billion hole in Ketraco budget books. Auditor General has said, you know something? The company's debts have exceeded its assets by 18.5 billion.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir. How that ensued, I do not know. There's a gunfight A second suspect arrested in a Yeko murder. This guy who was stopped, there's a guy here who is called, his name, stories on page 24. I read his name and now I've forgotten his name. Anyway, before he was arrested, there was a gunfight. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, it's the lady.
Yes, but there was a gentleman called Okoh
who had been arrested earlier.
Yes, but there's like a boyfriend who, there's a lady and a boyfriend. Boyfriend escaped, but he had been shot. So they're still looking for him.
Okay.
Back in the middle of the paper, this one is going to be sensitive. Growing burden, 2.75% shift deductions add to housing levy increase pay as you earn for top earners. Ruto's shocker for middle class pay slips. They say high earners to part with over 10,000 monthly new health insurance premiums. That is the truth of the matter.
Is it truth, eh?
Yes, then back in the middle of the paper also there's a picture of the president celebrating Diwali. It's a New Year celebration for those who are of the Hindu faith. And this was at State House, and he promised a decision on Diwali, meaning we will look, consider, see if next year it can't be a public holiday.
Wow.
Right.
In the paper daily, shock after KPSEA candidates miss exams. Hey. Oswago deeper in the 1.5 billion shilling tender heat. Gachagua vows to teach Ruto a lesson. Ruto scheme for 2027 polls as Gachagua vows to teach him a lesson. Let me tell you what's in Taifa Leo. Waliokosa kas wataka pia mnofu. Walioteuliwa naibu waziri wataka Rais Ruto awarushie kakiru. People would be nominated for cast positions, and of course, you know now they didn't get those jobs. So they're like, sasa, okay,
bro, something hivi. Kadogo tu. Najua tuko broke lakini. So tuko squeeze.
Surely.
Kitu kadogo at least.
Afisi ya seneta ya mulikwa, EACC yachunguza uwezekano wa ufujaji pesa katika afisi ya seneta wa Nakuru. Oh my goodness. Haya. Lamu yajaa watalii kwa zoezi la yoga. Wageni kutoka maeneo mbalimbali ya Kenya na ulimwenguni wamewasili kisiwani Lamu. Kufanya nini? Yoga. There's some yoga thing happening in Lamu.
Yoga. Lamu.
Yeah, Lamu.
Yoga.
You know, it's called, wellness. It's a wellness retreat.
Wellness.
So you go for a couple of days, and all you're doing there is you wake up, there's an instructor, you do some yoga, you sit down, you reflect,
And I can't do this in my house.
You meditate. You can. Just like you can, take a holiday in your home, but sometimes you choose to take a holiday in Lamu. Sorry, gani nauliza bana. Biden akata kuita wafuasi takataka. Watu wamesema Biden aliwaita takataka garbage. Alilazimika kufafanua kuhusu matamshi yake akidaiwa kutaja wafuasi wa Trump takataka.
When I said garbage, I didn't mean garbage. And also I didn't mean you.
It wasn't you I was talking about. Right? No, not you. And now I can see some of our followers are saying, like Musiel who says, Sleepy Joe called us garbage. It's about time we showed him. Tommy says he has voted. Tommy says he has voted for Kamala Harris today, and says good luck, girl. Ati Tommy, you think that you call a girl at now utapata kazi White House? Haya, sasa sikiza hapa skendo bana city. Skendo.
Ile moto.
Hatima ya wanafunzi 23 wa grade ya 6 katika kaunti ya Uasin Gishu sasa inaning'inia pabaya baada ya kufanya mtihani feki wa kutathmini elimu yao ya shule ya msingi maarufu kama KPSEA. The headline, wafanya mtihani feki. Can you imagine 23 kids sat an exam? Ministry of Education comes and says, that was a fake exam.
No. How on earth does that happen exactly? Fake exam?
Wacha tuone kama utapata hiyo story alafu tusome. Because how?
This has never happened before.
How?
It has never happened before.
So you sat the wrong exam. Let's look at traffic. Hi, remember, by the way, we keep talking about this thing. Here, Tala, as you can see behind us, Jijenge na Tala. Why is it Jijenge na Tala? Tala is a beautiful thing. For 10 years, Tala has been in this market. It has lent over how much? 500 million shillings. Right? To people. many customers. There are people who actually started borrowing from Tala from the very beginning, and they speak highly of it because it has come in handy at moments when they need it. All right? There are people who are trying Tala out for the first time, and they're also speaking highly of it because they're saying, I actually noticed the value of having this. You borrow, you pay. What are the good things about Tala? Number one, your data is safe and secure. Number two, the company itself is regulated by the CBK, so CBK knows it's not a fly-by-night company. Number three, they are never going to come and call you and call everybody and tell them, we, sitia kona pesa yetu. They're never going to do that. They are never going to get into your phone book and start picking out numbers and calling those people or sending them messages. They are never going to get into your phone book and start calling people and saying, pia City anachukua, pia we download Tala, pia we chukua loan. Wajua pia City alichukua 500 last week na alilipa na ilimsaidia. No, they are never going to do such kind of things, right? That's why they say, download Tala. Go to Google Play, download Tala. You'll walk through a very nice, simple process of registration, and after that, please start using it. Increase your credit limit. Get it to as high as possible, because you never know when you'll actually need a high amount.
Is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hi everyone. You may have heard about the official Study in Ireland fair happening next month on November 9th. Can you tell us what the students can expect?
Galway, which is the city where the university resides, is known globally as a global hub for the medical technology industry. 8 of the world's top 10 medtech companies are based in the city of Galway. So for that, we have 96% employment success rate for our recent bachelor graduates and 94% employment rate for our recent postgraduate students as well. So come speak to me and find out how to get your application started. Thank you.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone make sure to visit the official Study in Ireland fair at the Gallant Mall, Parklands on November 9th. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444.
From looking at the maps, there's something around Survey. I think there's an accident, something that's causing a bit of a traffic snarl up between Survey that stretches all the way back to Allsops as you're coming towards town. After that Survey area, I think this is around KCA University, you will be able to move. Actually, from there, there's no traffic into Muthaiga, nothing at all. Kiambu Road is okay. Now, there's also a bit of traffic on Manyanja Road this morning. As you get off Manyanja Road, you get into Jogoo Road. A bit of an issue there. I don't know whether it's the matatus that are usually stop around there, but yeah. So those are where you can see a bit of traffic right now. Nothing else anywhere else.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
City, it's the end of October.
It is.
It's been 31 days since the rollout of the Social Health Authority. This is the first month that people now start making payments into the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF.
Yes.
But it's been a shifty issue for many people.
It is.
Terminally ill patients who are struggling to get treatment as hospitals demand cash because of challenges with the new health system are pleading with the government to revert to NHIF. At KNH and the Kenyatta University Teaching Referral and Research Hospital, KUTRA, the country's 2 main referral facilities, patients are undergoing harrowing ordeals, unable to access urgent treatment under SHIF. They say, they've quoted Salome Kamau, who is a kidney patient at KUTRA. She says, under NHIF, dealing with chronic kidney disease, in my case, was much more manageable compared to the current predicament. NHIF used to deduct 8,500 from my cover for each dialysis session because I need 2 per week. Now I'm compelled to pay 11,000 shillings out of pocket every week just to stay alive. She has suddenly, this month, had to fork out 11,000 shillings a week. It's 4 weeks. 44,000 shillings. Now put in transport, put in all those things.
50.
Salome has spent 50,000 shillings this month just to stay alive, like she says. The truth is, SHIF has no tangible benefits, she complained, adding the hiccups occasioned by the 104 billion integrated healthcare system that's not working as expected is adding insult to injury. She needs urgent tests before a team of experts operate on her to remove gallstones, a delicate procedure according to Dr. Onyimbo Karama, the Director of Clinical Services at Kutra. She is also in dire need of dialysis. Dr. Karama says because she's a first-time patient here, we have to do pre-dialysis tests. She has to pay out of pocket, and tests include blood, urine and imaging tests. He explained that the patient has to pay cash because what the Social Health Authority allocates in their renal packages is not enough to cater for these tests, as well as the consumables during dialysis. Before October 1st, when I was going for treatment using my NHIF card on 3 occasions, I was admitted at KNH and NHIF sorted everything. I remember my first bill was 55,000 shillings. The second bill was 80,000 shillings. The third bill was 40,000 shillings. NHIF footed the entire bill. I was diagnosed in January 2020. I started my dialysis in February the same year because both my kidneys have failed. I've been to various dialysis centers, from KNH to Kenusa Medical Limited, a social enterprise that builds and operates dialysis centers in partnership with Mission Hospitals, and in this case, Fatima Hospital in Rongai. Fatima Hospital and Kenusa parted ways last year, a move that affected many patients. Kenusa was fantastic. My health improved when I started my dialysis there because they used to be very keen on iron maintenance. She disclosed that the dialysis centers she has been to are not offering Apple injection and Venofar drugs for chronic kidney disease patients because SHIF does not cater for them.
You know, this is of interest, Eric. This one, if I look at the Star, they have a similar story, but it's the complete opposite of that. The headline is patients in public hospitals praise Shah, enjoy benefits.
Allah?
I also went Allah.
Allah?
Yes. Registered patients are getting fast and free treatment from public hospitals. Okay? Expectant mothers are also enjoying free prenatal and postnatal services through Linda Mama. At Nakuru Provincial General Hospital, Medical Superintendent Dr. James Wairimu said the hospital has helped many patients to register. Many patients with chronic diseases have benefited from the scheme following the low cost compared to NHIF. The few challenges are faced because of systems delay, because some don't have IDs, but once they get IDs, they access the treatment immediately. They said most registered patients at the facility have undergone emergency surgeries, dialysis, chemotherapy. Expectant mothers given birth for free under Linda Mama. There's a gentleman called Macharia Kimani, an elderly patient who underwent emergency surgery was admitted at the hospital 3 days ago. For 3 days, I'm quoting what it is said. He said, I have been to hospital and have not paid a single shilling. All my bills have been taken care of by Shah, says Kimani.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's working in some areas, and in some areas where it really needs to work as well.
So
it's not. Because this picture here, they have a photo of Salome Kamau. I mean, both her kidneys have failed. It's been 4 years. She was diagnosed in January 2020. It's been 4 years.
Yes.
She's been going through dialysis. She needs dialysis every week, and not just a session. Now at Kutra, they're like, all right, we need to do some tests because we need to know now how do we treat this patient. SHIF is not paying for these tests. So we need her to pay out of pocket.
In fact, the Star has a whole page full of the story. A patient in this place, a patient in that place.
So the different patients in different hospitals.
Yes, and they're saying this one even registered. It says they registered immediately, and got
chap,
and you get treatment chap like that. So this is where now the Ministry of Health needs to come and tell us what it is that is actually happening, because these two stories are so contrasting.
Yeah, and it's a matter of health.
It is a matter of health. It is a matter of health.
Yeah. At least 97 women have been killed in the past 3 months, according to the National Police Service. This was confirmed by Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Kipkoech Lagat on Wednesday, who raised alarm over the crime wave. This troubling trend highlights the urgent need for focused action and collaboration to tackle the widespread problem of gender-based violence in our society. He noted with concern that there's been significant increase in the number of murders and manslaughters in the country over the last 2 years. However, DCI boss Mohamed Amin, who was present at the same press briefing in Nairobi, appeared to contradict him on the subject of femicide. Femicide is the killing of a woman or a girl in particular by a man and on account of her gender. Amin qualified the statistic by insisting that the crime wave is not gender targeted. We are not saying that there is a deliberate effort to target women. A majority of the cases that we are investigating, the motive is purely criminal. There was no intention to specifically target this person because she's a woman.
Who said that?
This is DCI boss.
Okay.
So what he's saying is, all right, what we've investigated, the number of cases that we've had, the motive was not gender-driven. It's a criminal. This person was attacking the person with criminal intent. And the criminal intent was not gender-driven. Because femicide is where now it's clearly gender-driven. I am killing you, and I have the account of your gender in mind.
Yes, he has a point, but when you consider that women are more likely to be more vulnerable than men, so even as a target, the gender bias is in existence. You cannot rule that out completely.
Yes.
And also the numbers have a story to tell us. Do they have a comparative statistics of men who were robbed violently and died? So that we can say that it is not gender-based.
I think they do. When they have this number of, when they say 97 women have been killed in 3 months in various instances and cases, then they also must have the number of men who've died in various incidences and cases, right? And those, so for example, we cannot say that because a woman was arrested yesterday in connection to the killing of the Wells Fargo boss, it was gender-based.
No, that you cannot say.
You see? So the similar kind of things that they're saying. The DCI boss said detectives have identified the person behind the murders of the Isley family and are closing in on them, and very soon they'll be arrested and prosecuted. Remember the 3 women, Waris Dawood, who was 38, Nusaiba Dahir, who was 12, and that's her daughter, and the niece, Amina Abdurrashad, who was 23. They went missing, and then their bodies were found in different parts. And so the DCI, for example, is saying, these ones, we do not see a gender-specific motive. There's criminal intent here. But we don't see a specific gender motive.
No.
In terms of the...
Yes.
Of
They were women, but the reason behind them was not as though they targeted them because they were women.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. He's basically saying, yes, there are increase in the number of cases of people being killed. And the number of women being killed is increasing. Now, the motive, I do not want to call it directly femicide, but yes, it's a concern. But you see, what you said, it's in the last 2 years, the numbers of murders and manslaughters in the country have risen. Mental health.
We've said this, and we're going to say it again. This is something that... this one isn't one of these stories, you say, let's look into it. No. This one is a let's do something about it story.
Yeah. Yep. It's one of those. Tell us one story.
I will tell you more than one story. I'm going to tell you the story on page 8, the mystery of 118 billion hole in Catraco. You know, when you think of money being lost and you think of money not being found, this one tops it. Company debts have exceeded his asset, leaving it exposed. Okay? Details have emerged on financial mess at Electricity Transmission Agency Catraco. The company's debts have exceeded its asset by 18.5 billion, leaving it exposed to lenders. Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has flagged the uncertainty in her review of the company's books as of June 31st last year. She said the company had 20 billion in current assets when its liabilities are in excess of 39 billion. Okay? This is an indication that the company was in net liability position and may not be able to settle liabilities when they fall due. The conditions indicate material uncertainty regarding the company's ability to continue as a going concern.
So Catraco is in the red?
This one is not red. This one is deep red.
Azadani walks in?
Azadani is supposed to walk in.
So sasa kutaendaje?
Tutaka tukiangalia.
It's for wait and look, Look and see.
Let's wait and see what happens.
Quickly, there'll be two stories that one I'll give you, I think, just before we get into our Justice Thursday conversation, because it's justice related. But this one, a former Machakos County senior official has been ordered to forfeit to the government more than 91 million shillings. The High Court yesterday found that Urbanus Wambua had amassed illicit wealth between 2014 and 2021. He lost 80 million property in Kibaoni, Kamudhwa, 10.9 million in his bank account. Justice Patrick Otieno said Wambua could not explain how he had made that kind of wealth. Imagine, between 2014 and 2021. This is just 2 terms in devolution.
And he had that wealth.
Yeah, and they're like, the kind of houses that he was building, the kind of properties that he had. He was a CEC in Governor Alfred Mutua's government in Machakos. Let's get to the news first. It's 7 a.m. Remember, Tala. It is Google Play. Download Tala.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the news wire. I'm Leah. Mubarak. The High Court will today decide whether to lift an order blocking the swearing-in of Deputy President designate Kithure Kindiki as sought by the Attorney General and Parliament. A 3-judge bench of Justices Eric Ogola, Anthony Murima and Fred Mugambi will also rule whether the High Court has powers to determine the petitions challenging the ouster of Rigathi Gachagua. Through lawyer Muthumi Thiankulu, Kindiki challenged the jurisdiction of the High Court to hear the more than 30 petitions on Gachagua's removal from office. Thiankulu submitted that the Constitution has given the Supreme Court the exclusive mandate to determine disputes emanating from a presidential electoral process. This event comes as Gachagua has expressed confidence in the judiciary, saying he believes it will give him justice.
We have faith that our judiciary will protect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and will exercise fairness and give justice to Rigathi Gachagua and his supporters. That is our prayer. But I want to ask for peace, more so to my people of the Mount Kenya region. Please remain peaceful. Love one another. Stay well with all other regions and communities. They have not wronged us. They are our friends. Kenya is bigger than all of us, and we don't have another Kenya. We only have one Kenya. And I want to say, irrespective of what will happen, the outcome of the court process, let our people remain peaceful and build our country. A time will come for us to speak.
As the lecturers' strike enters its 3rd day today, all 35 public universities and 2 constituent colleges, a lecturer who had decided to carry on with online classes found herself under siege as fellow lecturers infiltrated and caused disruption. University of Nairobi lecturers demanded that all students exit the online class and for the lecturer to stop teaching until the strike is called off.
You can't graduate the students alone as an individual. You can't. Even when you taught until the end of the semester, you cannot graduate the students.
I'm most obliged, sir.
Please. Yeah, we are many in class. We are so many in class. We don't want to be disrespectful. Please end it, amicably, so that your student can retain that respect for you and for all of us.
I'm most obliged. So, students, we can log out.
We shall never be divided.
The strike is still on despite Employment and Labour Court having declared it illegal, directing the government and lecturers to expedite negotiations pending a full hearing, whilst the Secretary General Constantine Masonga asked the government to honour the negotiated return to work formula to cater to the Don's welfare. A Sigei court has ordered that a 25-year-old suspect linked to the murder of Wells Fargo HR manager Willis Ayeko remain in police custody for 21 days to allow for further investigation. Victor Ouma, apprehended in Nairobi's Dandora area, will be held at the Railways Police Station in Kisumu. The decision followed a request from the DCI, represented by State Counsel Avin, who initially sought a 30-day detention period. Sigei Magistrate Jacob Makala ruled for 21 days, scheduling a case mentioned for November 21st. The case progresses as the DCI confirmed the recovery of Ayeko's firearm and the arrest arrest of a second suspect, a woman found with a man who escaped during an exchange of gunfire in Wagai Gem constituency. As the country continues to remain in shock on how two directors of a school in Kisumu, Singishu County, have been arrested for administering fake Kenya primary school education assessment examinations to 23 candidates. The directors of Silver Bells Academy, including a father and son, were apprehended by education and security officials who raided the school while the unsuspecting students were taking the examinations. Singishu County Director of Education Gitonga Thiringi confirmed the arrests, stating that the school was not registered as an examination center. The fate of the 23 candidates who sat the exam for now remains uncertain, even as their parents have asked the ministry to intervene.
And I had information from a friend that aliniambia mtihani ilikuwa nzuri. Nikauliza mtoto, ni wewe hukufanya peke yako kama mwenzako ameniambia mtihani ilikuwa nzuri? Akaniambia mama, tuliambiwa tukiuliza tuseme mtihani ilikuwa nzuri. Akaniambia hawakufanya, mtihani ilichelewa, but tomorrow tutafanya. Nikamuuliza mbona, ati mtihani ilikolektiwa na director of the national exam. Aje sasa ati imeenda mpaka Moiben from Inaptitude police station.
We have confirmed the exam is not genuine. They have been doing their own exam, which has already been taken by the security team for further investigation.
That's the news wire. I'm Leah Obaka.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, so it's starting to build up on Thika Superhighway. What we had seen earlier is that there was a small bit of an incident near Survey, and I think that incident is still there because the traffic is stretching beyond Survey. So from Survey, it goes all the way back into Outer Ring Road at Allsops. It's stretching into that dip. But then after Survey, it moves. So it's not a bad issue. Whatever the accident is, I'm sure it'll be getting sorted soon. And then from that point on, it starts moving. Okay, so just be patient there. In terms of the other roads, we can see Manyanja Road had an issue as well earlier this morning, and that's getting into Manyanja Road. So it's affecting Manyanja Road, it's affecting Jogoo Road, and it's also affecting sort of some Donholm section. That also, Manyanja Road into Jogoo Road, that intersection has an issue. Jogoo Road is okay. If we look at North Airport Road at City Cabanas, there is a bit of an issue when you're coming off Mombasa Road, getting onto North Airport Road, but thereafter it clears. Langata Road and Ngong Road are fine. Westlands into town is all right. Limuru Road into and out of town are fine. Lower Kabete Road for now is looking okay. Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga. Opposite. Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have CT Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So you are a candidate for this year's KCSE exam and you're thinking, so beyond this, I'd like to go and study outside of the country. or you have done your A-levels and O-level exams and you're thinking, I'd like to go and study outside of the country. Where would you like to go and study? Consider Ireland. There are several universities that are top universities and colleges in Ireland. One, Griffith College. Another one called University of Galway. Another one is called University of Limerick. Or Technological University of the Shannon. Dublin State University. Independent College, University College Cork. All these universities are in Ireland. And if you'd like to know more about them, it is possible for you to know more about them on the 9th of November. And this is at the official Study in Ireland Fair, where you can meet these top international universities, meet representatives from these leading universities, get first-hand information on admission requirements, on scholarships and study programs. You can learn how Ireland's booming industries can offer a wealth of job opportunities for international graduates. You can also get to expert visa guidance. You meet expert team of visa guidance counselors for all the questions around student visas. They can also just guide you on how to apply for the visas. All this on the 9th of November between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. At where? At Gallant Mall in Parklands. How do you go there? You first need to register with the organizers. That's Cradle. Cradle is spelled as Craydel. Craydel. Now you register by going to their website, cradle.com. Once you register, you will then get invitation. Entry into Gallant Mall on the 9th of November is strictly by invitation only. So only those that have registered prior will have access to all this. It's a good thing to think about. Just go there, learn about these universities, interact with the officials from the universities, ask about questions, all the questions that you have, ask about the courses that they offer, ask about fee payment, ask about scholarships. Many of them have scholarships available. Ask about the scholarships, how you can apply for those scholarships, and even ask about how you get a visa to go to Ireland. How do you get a visa to Ireland? Do they have an embassy in Kenya?
They do.
The Irish Embassy in Kenya.
They do.
Where is it?
Chief, it's exactly where it has been since last year.
Same place.
Same.
They haven't moved? Are you sure they haven't moved?
No, they haven't moved.
Okay. When you go there to Gallant Mall, they'll tell you where the embassy is. And now you can get what? Your visa. Now let's get into a Justice Thursday conversation. Every Thursday, we try to have a conversation on matters touching on justice. And today, all our conversations will have one or two issues touching on justice. However, the first one is specific to justice for children and how children access justice in an easy, efficient way, enhancing child justice through preliminary inquiry and diversion. We are joined by two ladies. One is the Honorable Lady Justice Teresia Madeka, who is the Judge of the High Court and Chair of the National Council for Administration of Justice Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children, and has been here on the show before. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Good morning to you, Eric and City. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
We are delighted to see you, Justice.
Yes.
Greetings from Ndu.
Yes, I was looking forward to meeting her.
She was looking forward to meeting you too. She was a little bit under the weather. Mwili imesema, everything else was willing. Until.
Kisema tunakubali.
Then we also have Honorable Rose Getao. She is a magistrate in the Milimani Children's Court. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we're going to have a conversation around justice for children and how we enhance justice for children. So make sure that children do not go through the rigors that other people go through. Nobody should even be going through any rigors in terms of accessing justice, but we should even make it much easier for children. Yeah. Judge, I want to ask you, in Gikamba, how do you say to count?
To count? Kotala.
Kotala.
No, so Kotala. Kotala.
Kotala.
Yes.
Yes? Yes. So tala is to count.
There's a sing song at the end.
Kotala.
It's not just imekauka kutala.
Kotala.
Yes.
Kotala.
Yes, you make it soft.
Very good.
Yes.
So this one here means count.
Tala. There's a place called Tala in Ukambani.
How did that place get its name?
I have no idea.
What are they counting? Maybe that's why they started counting the distance. When they say Nova, that's a center.
Yeah, by then,
that could be point 0.
Ground zero for November.
For November from Tala.
Yeah.
Now, Tala is a company that was started and founded in Kenya. All right?
Yes.
10 years ago, as Mkopo Rahisi, then now it became Tala. And it's gone outside of this country. It's in the Philippines, it's in Mexico, and they have been lending money, you know? So one of the things that Tala has done is because of their experience in this country, they have also seen the proliferation of very many of these micro lenders and mobile lenders and the digital lenders. And they said, let's form an association of digital lenders. Let's actually have some form of self-regulation.
Yes.
And from that self-regulation, they approached the central bank and the government and said, can you regulate us? Can we fall under the ambit of the Central Bank of Kenya? So now we have CBK regulations that touch on digital lending.
Wow. That's
and the digital lenders as well are also licensed by the Office of the Data Commissioner. So the ODPC also gives you a license either as a data processor and on how you're handling data. So Tala is one that has ticked all those boxes.
Okay.
And they've been saying we've been here for 10 years. Please try us out. The thing is, Judge, there are people who say, sasa Kotalambes and surely. Until you're in that situation,
yes,
when you have been called and you've been told that there's something that's needed at home. Sahio. You're in your chambers and you're looking and saying, okay, now I don't have enough money here to be able to send. I am in the middle of a session. I don't have time to start call my sister, my brother. Can you sort get into Tala, get the money, send, and then when you're finished with your court session, you pay. It is as simple as that. So there are people who don't see that Tala as that kind of companion. And that's what they'd like you to see.
There's always an emergency. And why it's called an emergency is because you didn't anticipate it and you didn't plan for it.
It is true.
And then most times it's also inconvenient.
Yep.
And the inconvenience is because you actually do not have that money.
And you need it.
Oh, you definitely do.
Yeah. At that point. Honorable Gitao, si hata umekubali?
Nimekubali.
Hata umesema yes.
Yes.
Very good. Now, City, please welcome the judge and the magistrate with the day's proverb.
Yes.
And Honorable Gitao, so what you need to do is listen.
Okay.
You'll give us a proverb, and you're going to give us your interpretation of that proverb. The good thing about you here is that there's somebody who's senior, so she has to come before you in answering this.
I can delegate. Delegate. Nasema kabla sijasema kitu sema kwanza alafu nitaongezea.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Our proverbs for this week have been from the state of Libya. Did you know that in ancient times Libya was the name by which this continent was called?
The whole of it.
There are people who called it that. Please understand, ignorance has been there from antiquity. So it didn't start at yesterday. That when we got independence, then we're trying to get rid of it. It's been there. But did you also know that in the 5th and 6th century, that Libya was actually a center for Christianity?
No.
You heard of Simon of Cyrene, isn't it?
Yes.
Cyrene is in Libya.
Okay, that's new knowledge for me.
Yes, and 2.7% of that population is Christian. Now, you may not know, but it's just the truth. Right, the proverb.
Yes.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes. Your ladyship, what is your interpretation of this proverb? I have to start with you. Now, if you want to delegate, that's you.
Can we caucus a little? We can have a chance to caucus.
Each of you gives their interpretation.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Yes.
Well, literally, it's just that maybe, someone will imagine that sandals are not good shoes and there's something better than sandals, literally. But the person telling that person that is probably seeing this person actually has a walk to take, a walk to For me, I'm looking at it from like today's discussion. Let me bring it home that we have to start this work from somewhere with what we have. And there's a distance we need to cover to go wherever we are going. And to do that, we have what we have and what we hope to have to make it better. So the longer the walk takes, maybe I need better shoes than the sandals I'm wearing because of the journey I'm going to take. So someone is encouraging me. Hizi sandals umevaa. They can take you a certain distance and ukifika hapo unaweza pata kiatu mzuri ili uendelee na safari. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
My friend, you are on your own.
I would want to look at it in a financial angle, where you're being told that you live within your means in as much as you aspire to get better opportunities. You have to live your means as you work towards getting those better chances in life. Yeah.
Live within your means.
This proverb has received some really genuinely interesting interpretations.
Yes.
Yes. And they're all good and they're all right.
And they make a lot of sense.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they do make a lot of sense. So November is coming. And November is the month for National Child Justice.
Yes.
What's that, Raj?
Thank you, Eric. We started off with a task force. Let me begin from, and I've talked about it before, which was put there by the former Chief Justice Willie Mutunga, because it was noticed that children who enter the justice system, fall through the cracks at some point and get the short end of the stick. And all the agencies serving children were not working in sync. And around that time in 2016, there were service months actually for other cases. And we noticed that children were not part and parcel of that. So we raised the question, and we were allowed to have a service week for children matters. That has now come to service months. During Justice Maraga's time, the month of November was declared the service month for children matters. Why? So that during that time, all the justice agencies can put a pause to other matters and concentrate on children matters, especially expeditiously disposing of those matters. Because one of the things that had been noticed was that those cases could take so long. Children could stay so much longer in the justice system, in remand, cases taking long. And the issue was that we were not working in sync. The magistrate is trying their bit, the children officer is doing their bit, but we are not working together. So that became the main reason to have the service months. But as time has gone, because this is like from 2016, 2017, there we started the service weeks. Since then, we've tried to make it into until now, around 2020, it became a month. And the reason was that now we need to look at it in a broader sense. What do we do during this month? First, deal with the cases. Secondly, spend time talking to people about the rights of children. Bring together all the agencies and let them look at how well have we coordinated together to make children access justice better. How have we improved the justice system? What is missing that we can do together better? So bringing that together. And this year, if I can just jump into that, the unique thing about it is that last year, 2022, we got a new Children's Act. I still call it new. And it brought with it some very good things for children. It brought a new approach to the way we address children matters. That children in conflict with the law were for the first time officially legally recognized as children who actually are in need of care and protection. That before you start dealing with the criminal side of the child, have you considered the welfare of this child? Have we thought about whether we really have to charge this child with this offense? And before we do that, can we look at what are the push factors for this child coming into this. So the law brought to us something called the PI, the preliminary inquiry. She'll be talking about it. It gave us diversion. We were applying diversion from the international, from the provisions of the CRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, but it had not been put in the Children's Act. So it brought us diversion directly into the Children's Act. And then it gave us another thing called the Family Group Conference. All these are new things that are there to help us to help the child who is in conflict with the law to come back to the community a better person. What does that mean? It means that we are now calling upon the parent to be more involved, the community to be more involved, and the justice agencies to just stop looking at the criminal side of this child. Because by the time a child commits a crime, somebody somewhere has let go. And then we are all being called upon to take responsibility. So this year, as you've seen, the theme is quite long. It says, talks about the child in conflict with the law, the preliminary inquiry, the diversion, the family group conference, and then we talk about rehabilitation and reintegration into the community. So that's really what it is this year. But it doesn't mean that other children will not be considered. Okay. All the children matters.
All children
will be looked into. But this year we want people to be aware of these three big things that we have and to breathe life into them.
Okay. It's a big thing, actually. Let me just read the full thing.
Yes, please.
Enhancing child justice through preliminary inquiry and diversion, colon. Promoting rehabilitation, comma.
Yes.
Reintegration, comma.
Yes.
And dignity for children in conflict with the law.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Sumeona.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Now, Honorable Gitau,
Yes.
you at your court, at the Milimani Children's Court, you definitely deal with a wide array of cases that touch on children.
True.
Right?
True.
So many times when people hear about children, so they think it's children in conflict with the law. So a child has actually been brought because this is a delinquent child who has committed an offense. But what kind of cases do you actually handle in your court? Just give us the very other types
of cases. Okay. So we have different type of cases. So we have a child who is a victim, meaning this time around, it's not the child who has offended, but they are the one against whom a wrong has been done. So we have that nature of cases. Then we also have children in need of care and protection. For instance, a child who has been found abandoned. So that child needs to be rescued, needs to be placed somewhere where they can get the care and be provided with their necessary needs. Then we also have the custody and maintenance cases. This is where marriages have broken down and the parents are fighting over who takes care of what, who stays with the children and all that. Then now we also have the guardianship cases where we are having the parents are not there, there's someone else who wants to take responsibility over these children. So that's another area of cases that we are dealing with. Then we also now have the children in conflict with the law, where it's now the child who has offended, and now we need to deal with those nature of cases as well.
These are many cases.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just think about it, children who are victims, these are children who are facing abuse somewhere.
Yes.
And they've been rescued.
Yes.
And in this particular case, not necessarily by their biological parents.
Not necessarily.
And so they have been brought before court, and you have to actually sort out this issue.
Yes.
And I'd assume that one of the things that you have to consider is where to take them beyond this, where they then get the care and protection that they need.
Yes.
How is that different from children in need of care and protection?
Okay. Generally, a child who is a victim is also in need of care and protection because they have already been exposed to the justice system. All right? But that child, you might find that since the offender is not necessarily a relative or a guardian, you'll find that they will find placement easily in the family home. All right? Unlike where a child has been found somewhere near a river, has been rescued, you do not know anything about the family. So that means that you're placing this child probably in the hands of a third party to take care of them in the interim as investigations are being conducted to determine their background, to determine their family relations before you can do the reuniting and all that. Yes.
Okay. One of the things that is always interesting with regards to children is, this is a specific question. When you handle children's matters in the court, what is the age bracket that is mostly represented in these cases?
I think across the board, because we have victims who are as young as 1 year, 2 years. You've heard about attempted defilements, indecent actions against children who are very young by adults. So when you talk about victims, it cuts across the board, from the youngest, who could be even 6 months, to the 17-year-old. And then for the child offenders, again, at least the law now has raised the age bracket for child offenders to 12 years. You cannot charge anyone below the age of 12. It was 8 before with a criminal offense. So across the board from 12. The challenge we have with the specifics is capturing the data. We'll talk about that. Capturing the data for us in the justice system has been a big challenge in terms of how old is the child who is the victim. It is there in the charge sheet, but how do we capture that data to be able to analyze, like you are asking now, so that we can say the number of children of this age have passed through the justice system? We are working on that, on being able to capture that. What is
the challenge? Is it the usual resources?
The systems being put in place. The judiciary has just adopted e-filing now. And we've been trying to have an integrated juvenile justice system in place where everyone in the justice agency can input their data, so that all of us can have the common data of the same child who is passing through our hands in the same space. So that has been a challenge. It's being worked on now that everybody is getting digital. But she will tell you, I think, they cut across board.
Because the second part of the question, and you've answered already by what you've said, I was going to ask, what about the offenders?
Offenders, of course, it's that from that 14 going up, even younger, even below. You can talk about it. You deal with them every day.
Actually, for offenders, the ones we will find in the systems are now those above the criminal culpability age, because even at the police station level, in as much as this child is below 12, they will not push them forward into the system. All right? So in the system, then you will find those who are now 12 and above. All right? So those are for the offenders. As far as those who are victims, actually, I agree with Judge. You will find a 6-month-old baby already under care and protection, a 1-day-old child having been rescued, abandoned. You are having parents who are drunk and never home. They leave these children locked up in the house, and they are as young as, So really, it's cutting across board on all the ages up to 18.
I'm concerned, 12 is young.
Yeah.
What is it that is considered when you determine that particular cutoff point? It was 8, it is now 12. Why was it 8 before? Why is it 12 now and not 16? Or why didn't you lower it to 6? Why?
I don't know how to approach that answer, because we would want it to be above 12, because we all know at 12 you still don't understand stuff. But our good lawmakers thought 12 was a good cut point.
And they didn't tell you the reasons because there has to be some thinking and logic behind it. Because I'm thinking of a 12-year-old in the system.
Yes.
As a criminal.
Okay, let me somehow add in some weight into it. It's not every 12 that will actually be in the system. Through the PI, the court can take out 12, 13, even up to 14. During the preliminary inquiry, one of the things that the court is supposed to determine is whether this child is able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. If the court is able to discern that that child is not able to make a difference between the two, they'll actually let them get out of the system without going further into it. Yeah. So the law has created that bracket between 12 and 14 where the court can make a determination as to whether they have a criminal culpability or not.
Okay, let's take a break and then we continue the conversation shortly. It's our Justice Thursday conversation as we close October and prepare to open November. We are opening November, which will be the National Child Justice Month, having a child justice conversation. Justice Teresia Madeka, the chair of the NCAJ Standing Committee on Administration of Justice for Children, and the Honorable Rose Getao, magistrate at the Milimani Children's Court. They are our guests. Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hi everyone. You may have heard about the official Study in Ireland Fair happening next month on November 9th. Can you tell us what the students can expect?
Dublin City University is Ireland's university for transformation and enterprise. We currently offer over 60 undergraduate programs and over 40 master's programs. 96% of our graduates are in further employment or further studies within 6 months of graduation. If this sounds interesting to you, please join me to learn more about how you can strengthen your future at DCU. Looking forward to seeing you there.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone, make sure to visit the official Study in Ireland Fair at the Gallant Mall, Parklands on November 9th. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, let's look at the weather. It's 16 currently sunny in Nairobi, 28 higher in later in Nairobi. In Kakamega, it's partly sunny at 18, highs of 30. Mombasa, highs sunny at 26, highs of 32. Eldoret, sunny at 15, highs of 26. Malindi, sunny at 26, highs of 32. Kisumu, sunny at 21, highs of 30. Nakuru, sunny at 15, highs of 28. Nyeri, sunny at 16, highs of 28 as well. Kampala, sunny at 20, highs of 29. Kinshasa, cloudy at 25. Highs of 31, cloudy in Johannesburg at 13, highs of 26, clear skies in Lagos at 25, highs of 32, sunny day in Mogadishu at 29, highs of 31. Addis Ababa is cloudy at 14, highs of 20. Dar es Salaam cloudy at 25, highs of 30. It's cloudy in Paris at 11, highs of 15. It's also cloudy in London at 10, highs of 15. It's partly cloudy tonight in New York. It'll rise to 27 later today. It's getting into a cool afternoon. Mostly cloudy in Beijing at 16 currently, highs of 17, and then later the temperature will drop to 9.
Spice up your life.
Eastern Bypass is doing the Eastern Bypass thing at 7:37 a.m. That is just getting busy. So as you're coming into the Eastern Bypass, into the military area, the barracks, Embakasi, and then you get into the North Airport Road, you'll find the traffic coming all the way to City Cabanas. Then Mombasa Road is all right until, of course, you get to Imara Daima, into the bridge at General Motors. After that, it clears. As you head towards town, you'll move all the way smoothly up to the roundabouts, Nyayo Stadium, Bunyala roundabout, or okay. Jogoo Road is fine until you get to the City Stadium roundabout, which is getting busy. Land is in both ways is busy. Kiambu Road is stretching all the way to DCI. Thika Superhighway, the issue earlier at Survey seems to still be there because there's a lot of traffic, although it's clearing. And then as you approach now Muthaiga interchange, it starts getting busy. Westlands heading towards town, not so bad. Limuru Road heading out is busy as you approach the UN Avenue there around Karura Forest. It's getting busier there. And then Langata Road is okay, heading towards this town and also heading towards T-Mall Junction.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yeah, our conversation continues. We want to understand more about justice for children, who are seeking justice or who need justice in the system. The Honorable Rose Getao, magistrate at the Milimani Children's Court, is our guest, alongside the Lady Justice Teresia Madeka, who's judge of the High Court and chair of the NCAJ Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children. Honorable Getao had just told us about the kind of children and how they deal with them when they come in and the children are in conflict with the law, sitting the age of 12. And then she said, well, the court then has some leeway to determine whether the child then continues with the process or other alternative measures are taken. You had a question to follow up on that.
I had many questions. I'll condense them into just one.
Yes, please.
The task that is before the court, I have to ask, do you have the assistance of people who understand just the basic subject of psychology and those who perhaps are trained in counseling psychology? I ask this because the process of determination, comprehension of wrong, right, a 3-year-old can understand wrong, right. But the import of what it is that they have done, that they may not comprehend, because even with full grown-ups, that can be an issue. Somebody knows it is wrong and right, but what it entails and the consequences therein is probably lost on them.
Yes.
Now, why I ask this question is because when you then say, for instance, determine this child comprehends and ought to be taken into the system, and you take them to a remand home for children, it's supposed to be a correctional center, but it doesn't quite work out that way. The correction tends to be left as opposed to right. What goes in comes out worse.
Yeah.
Now, there's something the court surely must be. You know this better than we do, because now it's like we are creating repeat offenders. What is it that the court has thought of to ensure that this particular problem that we currently have is mitigated against?
Okay.
Maybe before you answer, I can just say something small, then she'll talk about the practical bit.
Yes.
Our law now actually has brought on board the other players, the counselors, the psychologists, the psychiatrists. There are very clear provisions in that the court must actually apply, bring on board these persons. When we are handling our matters, that you can actually call out for a report, for an assessment by this a psychologist or a counselor if you need it, not only for the child but for the family if the family needs it, so that we are able to get to the bottom of what exactly the issue is. And when we talk about diversion, for example, and she'll talk about the practicalities about it, it's that the whole idea is to find the root cause of this child offending. And as a judge or as a magistrate, I may not be able to find the actual root cause of this thing. I need the support of other people who are not within the justice system. And that would include the counselors, would include the social workers, would include even the family members who might know these things. And somebody will need to go there and talk to them and tell us and bring the information to us and say, actually, this is what is going on in this home or in this community that is causing these children to do some of these things. And in their daily work as children courts, I think they deal with those. So, Muhesh, you can talk about that.
Yeah. Let me talk about the preliminary inquiry, because basically it's during this session that you're able to determine all these things. Yeah. So the preliminary inquiry is supposed to be the very first attendance in court of this child. So it's the very first time they are brought to court. So unlike an adult where their very first day will be the date when the charges are read to them, in this case, we did with it differently. The very first day should be a day when we consider a report by a children officer. That officer ought to have done some background checks in relation to this child and all that. We also get reports from a probation officer. They're supposed to do a social inquiry because, remember, the community know this child better than we do. Even at the police station level, it's just a complainant who has gone and said XYZ has done 1, 2, 3. But even that officer doesn't have the social background of this child. So then a probation officer goes back home, talks to the parent, talks to the neighbors, talks to the chief, and they are able to understand what is the social background of this child, what are actually their needs, because you might realize that it's out of necessity that probably this has happened. So they are able to determine what are the needs of this child, and they are able to bring that information forth during this first day session. Now, during this very first day session, again, if the court finds that in the reports there is something that is missing, the court can ask for further reports, and that's when we will look for psychologists. Let's say the reports by the first officers in this case, the children officer and the probation officers, have highlighted an area that you feel, I need more information on it. There is a mental health issue with this family. That is when now the court will direct, kindly take this child to this facility for this kind of assessment. Then you will come back and reconvene. Now look at it now holistically and see where do we go from here, or even start and determine how did we even get here, because that is what now directs your next move. Yeah. Yes.
Because at that point they have to determine, do we really have to charge this child with this offense? Remember, the child has come as a suspect for an offense. The DPP has already received a complaint, everything is there. But now this sitting will determine, do we need to charge this child or do we divert this child at this point?
Okay.
So when the court decides diversion, then they have to take them to a program outside the system where they'll go and get that rehabilitation they need. If they need to charge, then the matter will be referred to the court that will deal now with the charge, and that other process can continue.
Typically, how long does this take, the preliminary inquiry?
Okay. What happens is actually in the background, because by the time this first day, the first appearance, that is when the preliminary inquiry is supposed to be conducted. But in the background, a lot needs to have happened. So a complainant has lodged a complaint at the police station level. So it's up to, at the police station level, that's where the police officer is supposed to get in touch with the children officer, because that is the first call that they are supposed to make. Then the children officer comes in and they start gathering this information in the background, such that by the time the matter is coming first in court, the reports are already there. But then in some instances, you'll find the report will not be ready for some reason. So then you would request that you have a probation officer prepare for you the report, you have a children officer finalize their report, and then you reconvene at a later date, probably after 7 days, and you now do that exercise when you consider those reports. Again, even at the ODPP level, they are required under that act, the 2022 Act, to also have a report. They should be certain of their decision to charge. Yeah, they should at this point be telling you, take it to the bank. My evidence is solid. I will get...
This child is culpable.
Yes. So they should be that firm even in their decision. So those are the three things that we consider in the very first sitting.
Okay, Your Honor. So typically, how long does this take?
To do the preliminary inquiry per file.
Yeah, by the time now we are deciding we are going to put this child on his or her defense. From the moment, because you're looking at typically,
at this point, there's no issue of defense. It's an issue of determining whether you're charging the child, whether a charge will be brought, they'll be taken to a court to take a plea, or whether at this point you are just saying, no, we don't have to charge this child with any offense. Wacha sahi kwanza aende nyumbani, akashughulikiwa in a certain way. So it may take a week, I think. Because
a week from the moment a complaint is lodged with the police.
It may take a week because of these reports that are coming in.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that what actually happens?
Yeah.
Because we look at
some courts do that.
We look at a case has been reported. You know, where does the system begin? The system begins at the police station.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, say an offense has been committed.
Yes.
And somebody has determined that this is the person who has committed the offense. The person happens to be a minor.
This child, yes.
Right? This child then is reported to a police station. The police have got to start doing the arresting, and then they start the whole process of let's bring in a children's officer. Children's officer alikuwa busy, sijui leo ndio alikuwa ameenda Tala kudili na kesi ingine.
Yes.
Amerudi. Kesho alikuwa anaenda wapi? So how long is that taking? And then this file is prepared, it's taken to the DPP. The DPP then is going through the whole motion of decision to charge.
Actually, the PI starts the moment the file is brought.
Okay.
Where? That's when the PI, to the moment the child is brought to court, that's when the PI begins. Yes? That's the moment, because the PI, she convenes all these stakeholders. They are convened by the magistrate. All of them, the DPP, the children officer, the probation officer, the child is there. If the victim is also present, they are there. It's like a meeting to see, do we have to charge, do we have to take this child to the court system, or we can actually finish with it here? So everyone sits like at a round table and discusses this. So the children officer ought to have brought their report from the day, because the day the child arrives at the police station, the police officer immediately informs the children officer, I have a child here that I'm to take to court within 24 hours. I need to go with your report. So whatever report they'll have gathered, they need to come with it. So the others and the DPP should have their own report because they have already received a file so that they bring it together with when they're coming for this meeting. The report that may take longer would be the one for probation because this one is after this has taken place, but they are present. So it's expected it will take a week at most, and it can be adjourned, and the magistrate has to decide what do I do with this child as I've adjourned this matter, waiting for these other reports to come. But it is expected to take the shortest time possible, and that's why, and it's a new thing, so we are all beginning to practice it, and you want to make sure that it's done in the shortest time possible so that the child does not have to wait for long to know their fate. Narudi nyumbani, naendelea shule ama naendelea na kesi kushtakiwa. And also for us to determine the best ways to handle the child's issues as we are dealing with the criminal aspect of what the child has done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are several cogs basically just moving this whole thing.
Yes.
Are all of them aligned? Are they well oiled? Are they actually moving at the same time? From what you're seeing so far?
Yes. From what I'm seeing so far, I can say there's good progress. Just like any new thing, there will be challenges here and there. But then currently, I would say the response from the different stakeholders who are needed is actually good. Yeah. But obviously, teething problems will always be there. So you will find that ordinarily you will take now up to 7 days to get that assessment and that report done for you to be able to arrive at the decision whether or not to judge, And when you look at it again, when you look at the number of people who are actually even needed to be present for this inquiry, it's also an uphill task because you need a children officer present, you need a prosecutor present, you need a probation officer present, you need the child. That child needs legal representation. That child needs the parent or guardian present. Then you also need to have, there's one more person.
Don't worry.
The complainant.
You'll remember.
The complainant. Thank you. The complainant need to be present because when you're making this decision, the complainant's opinion need to be considered as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So really, it is not entirely a court's decision per se, whether or not we are diverting.
Yeah.
It's actually like a committee that is sitting and you're looking at the circumstances surrounding this child and you're all agreeing, I think the best route for this child is this. So the record should have, what did the prosecutor have to say about it? What did this probation officer have to say about it? What did the complainant have to say about it? Then there has to be a consensus. Actually, there is like a checklist that you have to tick to confirm that this and this and this and this has been met. For instance, what is the nature of the offense? There is an offense that you cannot divert. All right? How many times has this child offended? Right? You can only divert if this child is a first and second offender. If this child is a third offender, it becomes an X. And the test is cumulative. It's not either or. Is the parent in agreement with the diversion? No. Again, it goes out. It goes back to the second option, which is now the criminal justice system. Because the way the law is couched is that in the first instant, the court shall divert. So we are not having discretion, not unless the tests have not been met. So once the tests have been met, then that is when now this committee agrees there are different levels of diversion depending on the gravity of the offense. So we say the offense is not so serious, let's try level 1. It's a bit lenient because even the duration is a bit shorter. So it's up to 3 months. So even a simple apology could suffice depending on the nature of the offense. The child just failed to go to school, for instance. It's just something very simple. It's not something quite complicated. But if the offense is a serious offense, then you find that you are going almost up to level 3, or doing actually escalating from level 1 to level 2 up to level 3 until you get some sort of the child really reforming and doing what is right.
You need to explain that there are different levels of diversion depending on the seriousness of the offense or the circumstances.
To start with, what is diversion?
Yes.
Because the whole conversation here
is about diversion.
We are trying to, as much as possible, divert this child from going into this deep end of the system. What is diversion?
Okay. Diversion is an alternative way, other than the criminal justice system. It's an alternative to it. It's an alternative way through which you can make the child recognize the mistake and actually atone for it without going through the system. Okay? So the alternatives are different depending on the circumstances. That's where the levels come in.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes.
So now, depending on what the child has done, then we can do different options.
Yeah. So
Alright.
so if you look at even our constitution at Article 159, it encourages. We are told as an institution that we encourage every litigant who comes before us to look for alternative ways of settling that dispute. So it begins from there. And for children, we have not had, especially for the criminal matters, there's been this concentration on wapitie tu waende, what is it called? People used to call them approved schools, but now rehabilitation centers. Let them go to that place. But now, the fact that we recognize the nature of, the child, the age of the child, their vulnerability, their best interest, their welfare, the issues then, as we were saying earlier, we come back to what is the welfare of the child and the best interest in determining how do we ensure that this child does not commit another offense or, like he was saying, escalate to the next level of committing crime. So diversion comes in as a way at any stage. Actually, it can happen at the beginning, or as you go along, you might find, no, I don't have to proceed with this case the way it's going. And even at the end of the case, when you determine the matter, those orders, one of the ways of dealing with a child is to give an order under the provisions of diversion. That is, under the section that provides for diversion, the different levels say what the child should be doing when they are under diversion. So when you come at the end of the matter, for example, you may find, no, certain orders can be made within the diversion system to say this child can go home and be taken through a certain level of the diversion provisions. So it is different programs or interventions that have been put in place, or we must be put in place because we don't have all of them now. And that's why we want to talk about this, that we are all required to come together and within the community find programs or interventions or things that children can do when we say they are out there on diversion, because we may need them to be supervised by for example, you were telling me about a child reporting to the probation officer when they're out there. But you might even need to have them be reporting to a counselor or an institute or to go for a vocational training or something. So if all the people who are in that team are able to work together as a team and bring together a good program for this child, then you find that at the end of the period, maybe there'll be better compliance. And when you do the assessment, which she will talk about how she determines whether this child has completed their diversion successfully, we'll be able to say that, yes, this child is rehabilitated and they can go back and be reintegrated in society properly.
So there's a graduation?
Yes.
Out of this diversion.
Kuna assessment is...
How do you do that? How do you determine?
You see, after you've chosen the level, for instance, let's say it's running for 3 months, this child has been told to report to a probation officer, for instance. At the end of the 3 months, you should be able to come back, this committee that sat, all right? And the probation officer should be able to give you a report that during the period, this is what and what and what has been accomplished, all right? Then the committee should be able to make a decision. Are we satisfied that we have met what we had set out to do? If it is satisfactory, then you actually close that file because there is nothing else to do. We have tried to, change the course of the life of that child. If it is not successful, you can give them a further 3 months because they have been non-compliant, and they should be able to also give you an explanation. You are required to report every Friday. How come you missed 3 Fridays out of the 3 months that you were supposed to go? And then you can tell them, now, because I'm trying to teach you responsibility by the end of the day, yeah? So we will extend the period from 3 months to now 6 months. Again, you reconvene. Once it is successful, you just close the file and you let the child go on with their life.
Okay. So for like a minute as we conclude, tell us about this next month.
Yes.
When you say now we have a focus on children matters, what happens?
As at 30th of September, we had over 9,500 cases pending for children in conflict with the law across the country.
9,500.
That means those are children who are waiting for their cases to be heard. And for children in need of care and protection, the numbers have been given are over 15,000. Those are cases that are pending. So when we say, and the average period of time that a case takes actually is over 400 days. For children in conflict with the law, 414 days. That's the average period for disposition from day one to the last day. So you can imagine a child waiting for more than a year. And we are saying this matter should not take more than 6 months. Because when a child is waiting for their case to be heard, a lot has stopped.
Yeah.
For some of them, they are not going to school.
Yeah.
So why we need people to come together and deal with this is so that we stop what we are doing and see how, whether within this month we can expedite as many of these cases as possible. Children have closed school, so they are available as witnesses. They are available as victims to give evidence in their cases. They are available in every other justice space that they are required to be available to come and testify and to have their cases heard. So all the magistrates and judges, because there are also matters in the High Court for children, and all the other stakeholders are just being called upon to come together and deal with this.
Focus on matters of children.
Yes, and courts have prepared the lists of cases. Course lists have been sent out so that the advocates who are pro bono, most of them are pro bono, the counsellors who are pro bono, the mediators who are pro bono, because they come and help to settle these matters. Those ones that require mediation, the mediators are on board, the counsellors are on board, the lawyers are on board to help us deal with these matters.
Your Ladyship, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Justice Teresia Madheka is chair of the National Council for the Administration of Justice, Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children. What's your station now, Judge?
I'm in Makueni.
You're in Makueni?
Yes.
Aha.
Unakaribishwa huko. But today we are having the launch of the service month at Kirigiti Rehabilitation Center
in Kiambu County.
And unakaribishwa, the Honorable the Chief Justice will be there, and all of us are headed there.
Wasalimie.
Yes.
The Honorable Rose Gitao is the magistrate at the Milimani Children's Court. They've been our guests for this Justice Thursday conversation. You know, there's a lawyer in one of these Rigiji cases in court who was addressing the judge and said, you guys as you retreat to. So you guys as you...
Yes. And you guys as we leave you behind. Have a good day.
It's 8:08 news time.
Yes.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Environment Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has linked the miseries befalling the ousted Deputy President to the enmity he built between him and his fellow leaders in Kenya Kwanza, and especially those from Mount Kenya. Duale said Gachagwa's tendency to alienate potential allies in the political arena ultimately led to his impeachment, making him the first-sitting deputy president in Kenya's history to be removed from office.
He invested, let me use the right word, he invested more in creating enemies than friends. That's why you saw, it has never happened in the history of the Kenyan legislature for 282 members to vote in favor of a motion. And go to the Senate, I was following, I think the lowest charge which the House impeached on, there were 49 senators.
Duale emphasized this point by referencing Gachagwa's public disputes with key political figures, including digital strategist Dennis Itumbi and the president's personal assistant Farouk Kibet.
You ask me, it's good to invest in friends. And I think the current former deputy president, he invested more in fighting people from his backyard and everywhere, including fighting small people like Dennis Itumbi, Farouk Kibet. You know, when you are big, you don't come to ground zero. You stay up.
Now, the poverty rate at Trans Nzoia County has risen to 58% due to the tough economic times. Governor George Natembeya says that despite the region being well known for farming, lack of sufficient resources to enable farmers buy farm inputs, disputes over land ownership and bribery are some of the factors that have affected their production rate.
Umaskini wa Trans Nzoia yuko juu sana. Hata ukaangalia kule katika serikali ni kwamba umaskini wetu hapa uko juu zaidi ile kitaifa ya Kenya. Kuna uwezekano mkubwa kupata mtu maskini Trans Nzoia kuliko mahali pengine popote pale katika taifa la Kenya. Na ni jambo la kuudhi kwa sababu sisi tunaambiwa kwamba tunalisha taifa la Kenya. Sisi ni gala la taifa. Wakati hatujavuna mahindi, Kenya hii njaa. Na sisi tukasema sasa haitakuwa ni story kuambia watu vile Trans Nzoia ni nzuri bila watu wote wamesoma, kila mtu ni tajiri na reality on the ground iko tofauti. Tukasema tutachukua hatua ambazo ziko deliberate kuhakikisha kwamba tunakuamua watu wetu kutoka kwa matope ya umaskini.
His father said in order to correct this, the county leadership is doing everything possible to empower residents through the Nyeri Fund, government tenders and training on modern farming methods.
Nataka mkuwe mmefahamu mambo ya kufanya tenders. Tender itaki profesa, haitaki kuwa umefika form 4. Hata kama hujawahi kwenda kwa shule utafanya tender na serikali. Lakini hao wangwana wangu ukienda kule ukimuuliza mambo ya tender atafanya na kuwa complicated. Ukifanya practically wewe mwenyewe kwenda kwa ofisi unaona ni very simple. Alafu unaelewa, unajifunza. Mimi nataka muangalie ile 2.7 billion ambayo inakuja kufanya mambo ya development projects kwa county. Hiyo ndio fedha mimi nataka muapply. Na mimi najenga entrepreneurs wafanye biashara nyinyi najenga nyinyi.
And in the international scene, Donald Trump has seized on isolated irregularities caught by U.S. election officials to claim cheating has occurred, amplifying expectations that he will again reject results if he loses next week's vote. The Republican candidate has consistently declined to commit to accepting the result of the November 5th election, setting the stage for a repeat performance around the unfounded claim that his 2020 loss to Joe Biden was rigged. Trump denounced what he said was cheating at large-scale levels never seen before in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania. Now, that followed a post from the day prior in which he claimed that really bad stuff was occurring in the state, saying law enforcement must do their job immediately. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Kiambu Road had a bit of an issue. No, it wasn't an issue on Kiambu Road. It was just the usual traffic. So it had stretched way back to DCI headquarters. It's improving. Thika Superhighway had an issue earlier at Survey where there was something that was causing a bit of a snarl up there. So that is also improving, although the issue is still appearing to be there. Now, Landis Road in and out of the City Stadium roundabout is also looking busy. So Landis Road into City Stadium roundabout is busy. Landis Road out through into Retail Market is busy. Jogoo Road into City Stadium is busy. Earlier we had seen issues on Manyanja Road that has cleared. Now it is North Airport Road into Eastern Bypass into North Airport Road, quite busy. North Airport Road coming towards City Cabanas, that is also quite busy. Mombasa Road, there's something happening around Eka Hotel that also is causing a bit of a stretch that stretches all the way to Bellevue, but then after that it clears when you get into South Sea. It goes all the way as you approach City Stadium roundabout, no, Nyayo Stadium roundabout, it starts getting busy into Bunyala, but then after that it clears. Langata Road, my good lord, as you come in towards T-Mall Junction, busy. Get onto Mbagathi Way. Mbagathi Way out is busy all the way to City Moche roundabout. So if you can avoid Mbagathi Way, please do. Ngong Road, all right. James Gishoro, as usual, it gets busy.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have CT Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
the only way to start your day, and Tala is the only companion that you need to have on your phone for your financial needs, all right? So you just think about it. If you download Tala today from Google Play, you will have a companion. And from 0 shillings to 50,000 shillings, that's the highest limit they're currently offering. Now you'll be able to take out a loan when you need it. There are people who actually, City, as we were told by Tala, and from their own experience, from what they've seen, over the last 10 years, there are people who have worked out their financial plan, and on the financial plan is Tala. So at this particular point, I know I'm running a business, I know I'm living my life. At this particular point, I will need some money, and this is when I'll go to Tala. I will borrow this amount of money. It'll take me up to this point. I'll commit myself to pay within this time, and then I'll move. So this is how you balance, right? It's like people say, I know I will go on and take a salary advance on this particular date to push me up to this point, and then this is what will happen, right? So there are people who basically have learned, I've done my financial planning, and Tala is playing an integral part of it. And because of your credit history, because you're borrowing and you're repaying on time, because you are not defaulting, your limit keeps rising. Your positive score works for you, you know? And that's the thing about Tala.
Yes. And it is exactly as they say. You see, the moment you have a financial entity that is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya, and is also registered with the Data Commission, there are rules by which they will adhere. And that is a guarantee for your own safety and for your own financial welfare.
Yes.
And Tala has precisely that.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things that they keep insisting they will not do is they are not going to anika you because you borrowed money from them. They'll not use you as a case study. Even for those who are successful, they'll not, without your own permission, come and say, kuwa kama City. City alianza kuborrow 5,000. Sahi tunapatia 50. Na City every month lazima chukue 50. Sijui anafanya nini, lakini City no.
Yes. And what we colloquially refer to as character development. Utapewa.
Ile za faith. Ati City ni friend yako. How do you deal with that guy? What? Huyo jamaa ukimwona tu hivyo. Hapa kwetu he comes every week for money.
Daily.
No, they will not do those kind of things. It is your relationship with them, and your data is protected. Our guest for the next hour is the 51st President of the Law Society of Kenya. Good morning, Faith Odhiambo.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and
it's
you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes, like City said when you walked in, and like the last time you were here, when you had not slept for I don't know how many days, this time you look a bit relaxed.
Rested. But when you look at her carefully, it's like she's carrying the world on her shoulders.
I think what she's done is that now she has actually now sat on the seat properly.
Vizuri.
And she has managed, she knows.
She had adjusted it nicely.
At 3 a.m. I'm going to get a call. At 6 a.m. I'm going to have to get up. At 4:15 a.m. I'll have to be talking to some certain police officer, or I'll be calling. Now you know.
Yes. And in between, there will be all these unplanned emergencies which will come to my desk and I have to deal with them.
And beyond that, I still have to pay my bills. So I have to also run my life as a lawyer and make my money. Hey, Bwana, that's a lot. Did you know that this was it when you were asking for people to vote for you in as president? I know you had been a vice president, but...
It was busy, but we've never had this before.
I have asked a previous vice president before. Is this what you thought of when you wanted to be president? So let me ask this former vice president. Is this what you thought of when you wanted to be president?
No, this is not what I thought of. Of course. No one thinks that people will be picked up every day, and you're always having an emergency every single day.
Okay, there is no chairman in the history of the LSK who have had to deal with the issues you're dealing with now, has there?
I think maybe they had different issues. We have had chairmen during the Moi era as well. When people are fighting for multi-parties.
When Kinamoita were dealing with those things,
yeah,
were dealing with.
Yeah, so they've had also issues. Their equal share of weight on their shoulders. Yeah,
but that one was different. It's the meat and potato thing. It's a dictatorship. You do what you're told. If you don't do what you're told, you know where you're going to go. And there was no complexity in the law. The moment you have a constitution like the one we have, it gets very, very interesting.
Starts bringing other stories.
Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does. And from many, many, many quarters. So you're not just dealing, because that one was government is the problem.
Yes.
Okay? It's no longer just government is the problem. We didn't have civil society who also think they're the government. No. We didn't have...
Or the law society.
Or the law society.
That's not it's the law. Okay. Faith, karibu sana. City will give you the day's proverb. This week we are in the state of Libya.
Yeah, we're in the state of Libya. Lydia, not Lydia, it's Libya. Yes.
Our producer Lydia, the first time she heard this, she wondered, what's wrong? In what state am I in?
Yes.
State of Lydia. No.
Libya. Okay. Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
That's interesting.
Madam President, what's your interpretation of this?
Well, I would say that cut your coat according to thy cloth. So keep going. That use the tools that you have to start that journey until one day you make it. Don't wait that until you have good shoes to start walking. So just use whatever tools, if it's sandals, slippers, just work with what you have to try and achieve your goals until you make it.
It's a simple one. It's a simple proverb, right? Simple, direct proverb. This proverb was not written by a lawyer. If it was written by a lawyer, it would be 4 sentences.
Really?
Walk if you must.
Yes. Wear sandals even if they're not available.
and when available.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a story on page 10 of the Standard today.
Yeah.
The family of lawyer John Eric Wasonga, alias Lavani Milam, together with several activists, are calling for his return after he was abducted by unknown people in Ruaka, Kiambu County. According to his family, Wasonga, who is a vocal government critic, was picked up on Tuesday, October 29th at around 3:30 p.m. and his mobile phone was switched off. Addressing the media yesterday, the family and friends said that they were notified of his abduction by his expectant wife, and they have since searched in all police stations in Ruaka. He is nowhere to be found. They say, we don't know his whereabouts. We do not know where he is, whether he is alive or not. We just want him to be produced. They say they caught up with him, but he was able to record the number plate of the vehicle trailing him and a voice note of his encounter with them. This is what Vocal Africa CEO Hussein Khalid said. Wasonga was picked up outside a supermarket in Ruaka. We are telling the government that cases of abductions and extrajudicial killings must cease. Madam President, what's going on?
The same question, but you should be asking the main president what's going on in his country. So we've gotten several distress calls like this in terms of abductions. What we normally ask is that the family come to the Law Society so that we prepare, if we have to, a habeas corpus application to go before the court, demanding that if it's they're in state custody, then they must be produced in court. That's the sort of style we have adopted, because once you've applied as much pressure and made as much noise, we of course have to go back to the courts, because we are guided by a constitution, we are guided by laws in this country. And so we find it quite alarming what's happening. Boniface being picked up Okoh missing. We still have the MCA from Wajir missing, amongst others that people keep calling upon us. Yesterday we got a distress call of somebody who had been arrested in Embakasi because of, just exercising his right to picket. And even when we sent a lawyer there, they refused to release him on bond. And there's no offense that is not bailable now in this country. And so our challenge is that we also ask the courts to also be a bit tough, that if these state agencies do not obey court orders, by the time they come to court, let them free all these people and also deal with the necessary officers, because that's when we can actually see positive change. I always say that I don't think the Kitengela 3 would have been found if it wasn't for the hard stance that the High Court took with regards to that particular matter. And so if we don't see the courts also wearing their coat of or armor of bravery, then we'll foresee more Kenyans disappearing in this day and age, unfortunately.
So you make several applications for habeas corpus. Once you're told that somebody has gone missing, you're not able to trace them, you go to court and say, compel the state agencies to produce this person. How many are pending? How many applications have you made where actually the still person hasn't been produced?
Well, we have quite a number. I would say like 4 or 5 that are still pending before court. But you see, the reality is the responsibility is on the police to know and to tell Kenyans where this person is. You can't say with all the intelligence you have, you cannot find Kenyans. When they want you, they use your phone to find you in record time. But when you've been abducted, they purportedly don't know your whereabouts. So we can't have our cake and eat it at the same time. They're either telling us that this person has been picked up, either it's an abduction by other known sources, but they use the resources they have in this country to trace and track, arrest whichever people or find where the victim is. Because you cannot say that Kenya, you're spending this amount of money in the budget that is taxpayers' money, yet you cannot explain where the citizens of this country are. You cannot ensure that there's peace and security in this country, because it should also be a worrying trend from the head of state to all heads of security agencies, because it creates a question is, if it's not government picking them up, then who is this? And you ought to be worried, because it means that then there are Al-Shabaab or terrorists within the country picking up people, or the level of crime rate has risen so high that you cannot control your security in your own country. So I think this is not just a problem that they should think that let's sweep it or let's keep quiet about it. It should be a problem that they would be asked, even our foreign agencies that are in this country. I saw in the newspaper, it was reported that the head of MI6 was saying that they would withdraw any funding if Kenya doesn't, deal with this question of abduction. But I say this with a bit of satire, because in exchange they're bringing more intelligence to the country in terms of giving them equipment. So I hope this equipment will be used to find these missing Kenyans and tell us as a country, as a nation, that we can trust that the head of state is ensuring that his people are well protected.
There's something you've said. So around 4 or 5 applications that are pending where you've said this person is missing, produce them. But we hear that there are over 60 or so. I mean, how many cases of people who have disappeared, who families are saying they can't trace them? How many are we dealing with?
The last report by Kenya National Commission of Human Rights was at around 60. But you know how the law society works. We have to have a paper trail. The family members have to come, report, then we proceed with the matter, because also we don't want to have chances of, unverified information or fictitious, and you'll be told that who told you to go to court. So we prefer to work with the families so that at all times, at the end of the day, the law society will be acting for you, but the family is the client. so that even the case of the Kitengela 3, we were working in conjunction with the family members that had come to the Law Society to seek support. So with that regard, at least you're sure that you're working with credible information.
So far, so 4 or thereabout families have actually come to you. And they said, we are looking for our loved one, we can't trace them. Is there a possibility of many more that have disappeared, but they haven't come to the Law Society of Kenya?
Well, there is a possibility.
And what reason would there be if they know that they can get support from the LSK? Why would they not come?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question, but there are various agencies. You've seen Vocal Africa is also in that space. There's Katiba, there's Kituo, there's the ICJ, there's the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights and Kenya Human Rights Commission, Kenyan Human Rights Commission. So there are several organizations working on this space. So probably they've reached to the different civil society organizations. But we work with that kind of system because we have a toll-free line. So even if you call and report and you say this is your case and you want to share details, we are open to that and working, because the Law Society is not just in Nairobi. We are all around the country. So in terms of the question of reach, we're available through the different branches and chapters that people are able to reach and get assistance. And part and parcel of even this week, we are running the Legal Awareness Week, is to also create sensitization to members of the public where the Law Society is, how can you get them, and sharing free legal advice to those who are having challenges. We've had even some that were injured. A few that we had visited in Kenyatta National Hospital have been coming as well to just report their cases. But those who were not able to reach out to, that's part of the reason why we're doing this event, Legal Awareness Week, so that those who are still struggling and have concerns can easily reach the Law Society of Kenya.
You know, one of the things that I've always found interesting, I was looking at this particular article in The Nation, what UK and UAS want from Ruto. I never cease to be amazed at the forked tongue approach to these matters when we have supposed friendly nations and their representatives talking to us about what we should do. See, one of the things that these clever nations do is, for instance, the USA for the longest time had Guantanamo Bay. So it wasn't within their own territory. But people would be abducted and then end up there. The British have Diego Garcia. Most people don't even know there is a Diego Garcia. But, meaning, they found a legal way of doing exactly what this government is doing. But the positive side of it is that they know. And this is something they understand very, very, very well. Anyway, their interests aside, earlier on in the morning we were saying, okay, this is what the newspapers tell us, but what else were they really telling us? I want to speculate. I want to speculate because I want to get onto this issue. You see, one of the things that the US did when there was a huge drug menace in their country, they realized a lot of these things had to do with money. So they started ensuring that there were laws that could help them trace and track money. The country that resisted this for the longest time was Switzerland. But Switzerland had to cave in because if you want to do big business on this planet, you really need to have a presence in the US, simply because of the way the economy is run. So they also changed their laws, did the referendum, and you now were able to trace money, partly because it was the drug money that ended up funding terrorists, ended up doing A, B, C, D. Now, we have a problem with monies that are intended for development, doing all sorts of things other than the development for which is intended. Now, those systems would be able to trace and understand exactly where the money is. Usually the arm twisting comes in when they present you with this thing and say, we know exactly what you've been doing with this money and this way it's been going. So now, you either behave yourself or... Now, back to the issue of disappearances. Why is it that we have to get to a stage where the government thinks it can silence its critics by enforcing something as archaic and draconian as what we saw in the Moi era? Because this is exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Is it that so that people would be afraid to speak and say this is wrong? What do you think it's supposed to happen? Because people keep being abducted, and from what I see, people just keep talking. It's not as though they're talking less.
Well, I would say that even if people keep talking, they get mental fatigue. You know, I've visited a number of prison police cells, and I dare say there are certain police cells, if you're taken there, you will never want to be picked up again. So it will reduce, let's say, the vigor in which you engage in. Yes, so it works. And you know, a lot of families, because of the disappearances, those who would be witnesses, some are afraid, because as much as the young people may be open to, you know, sleeping in the cells and, you know, going to the streets on several occasions, they have parents, they have family members who are concerned about them, who are worried about them. And so, you know, that pressure also from your family, just, you know, you need to think about others. How will it affect us? If you have children, how will it affect your children, your spouse? And so that pressure sort of works. And so it's a concerted effort that we need to talk as one voice and just push back. That we can't go back to a scenario whereby voices are silenced through abductions. You know, I dare say in the region, Kenya stands out. Because look at what's happening in our neighborhood, in the countries around us. We continue to be the beacon in terms of we say whatever we want, the way we want, and how we want it. Kenyans are not afraid to go and camp at the Twitter and Facebook accounts, or, you know, whatever accounts of the head of state or any cabinet secretary, and tell them off, and even call them and tell them off. But these are the scenarios that you can't do in our neighboring countries. And so this we need to jealously guard, because this constitution enabled Kenyans to be highly litigious, but at the same time enabled Kenyans to be able to engage proactively in terms of what do they want to see in their country, calling out their leaders for corruption and certain vices that they see in the society. And so for me is... I feel that if we don't fight for what we believe in, we might find ourselves reneging and going back. And you see, the playbook for Moi will come back again, because then we'll have the judiciary sinking and being afraid to voice itself out. Because once the citizens are not making noise, the citizens are not going to the courts, the citizens are afraid, the courts are on their own. And so we will go back to the Moi playbook, that despite having such a robust constitution, and hence, you know, we need to continue pushing back. And the efforts to find these missing Kenyans must continue. People must continue pushing to ensure that every single life that has been lost is held accountable. That's why we keep asking the relevant institutions must ensure they hold these individuals accountable. Because if we don't do that and let it slide the way Kenyans sometimes easily forget, then, you know, it precipitates for the future. Others will say, why should we go to the streets? Because the younger generation, I would say the Gen Zs, don't have the baggage that, you know, the X generation and which spread to the millennials because of the history of the challenges that have been there. They say they're only afraid of two things, marriage and pregnancy. So the rest is, you know, you can't scare them with it's fair game. You can't scare them with police cells and abductions. But if they get to a place where, you know, their voices are also silenced, it means it spreads still the next generation. So it's up to us to protect this generation to be able to continue being active and proactive in the politics and democracy of their nation.
Indeed. Let's take a break. The president of the Law Society of Kenya is our guest this morning, Faith Thiambo, and the people who are saying, yes, you really have stood out and you're serving not just your profession, but you're serving the country very well. So kudos to you from our listeners. Studying in Ireland is something that many people would like to do, but they just don't know. Faith, do you know where the Irish embassy is in Nairobi?
I don't know.
It's in Parklands, actually. High Ridge. Yes.
It's in High Ridge.
Yes. And it's on a place called Manyani Road. Yeah.
The embassy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, also in Parklands, there's a mall called the Gallant Mall. Okay. Now, if you'd like to study in Ireland, let's say in the next intake, you're sitting your KCSE now soon, and you'll want to go and study in Ireland maybe next year, or you've just done your A and O level exams and you'd like to go and study there. How you can get to information about that is you go to the official Study in Ireland Fair, which will be taking place on the 9th of November at the Gallant Mall in Parklands, Nairobi, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The only way for you to be able to access all this information on all these universities is by registering cradle.com, cradel.com. That's cradle.com. Go in there, register. You'll find the participating universities: Griffith College, University of Galway, University of Limerick, Technological University of the Shannon, Dublin State University, Independent College, University College Cork. All of these universities have sent representatives to come to Nairobi on the 9th of November, where they'll interact with you, answer all your questions, tell you about the courses they offer, the admission requirements, even scholarships available. So register today.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your
I know
day.
mko na talents, lakini mko na vibe. It's time to discover East Africa's newest talent. Ni muda wa Kenya kuchachisha. Anguka nayo kati, toka utuonyeshe hizi stars zako. Africa's biggest talent show, Bongo Star Search, is coming to Kenya. Stand a chance to win amazing prizes and work with the biggest names in entertainment. My judges wakiongozwa na Rita, Master J, Salama Jabir, and our very own Sanaipe Itande watakuwa pale tukicheka na tukilia. Tulieni mpangwe wasee. From Gen Z hadi wakoro, ma students na corporates, jitokeze tujue nani mzii. Tukutane Kenya National Theatre on Friday 29th and Saturday 30th November. Kosa uchekwe brother. BSS Season 15, sasa beyond borders. Si mchezo. Tune in to ST Swahili Channel 160 or 400 every Sunday at 9 p.m. and on Wednesday for an extra highlights show at 8:30 p.m. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
Hi everyone. You may have heard about the official Study in Ireland Fair happening next month on November 9th. Can you tell us what the students can expect?
TUS is currently offering a €1,000 Sub-Saharan Africa scholarship that is eligible to all our incoming students from the region. There is an additional €3,000 alumni scholarship for all students progressing to first year from our foundation program, giving you a total of €4,000 scholarship from first year till you graduate. 86.9% of our graduates are employed within 9 months of completing their degree. It's such an amazing time at TUS, and we look forward to welcoming you. Thank you.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone, make sure to visit the official Study in Ireland Fair at the Gallant Mall, Parklands on November 9th. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Okay, it's sunny at 19 in Nairobi. Expect highs of 28 later. It's cloudy in Kakamega, 22, highs of 30. It's also sunny in Mombasa at 28, highs of 32. Sunny in Malindi at 29, highs of 32. Sunny in Nakuru at 18, highs of 29. It's warming up in Nyeri, currently at 20. Expect highs of 28. In Eldoret, it's sunny at 17. Expect highs of 27 later today. It's cloudy in Johannesburg at 16. Expect highs of 27. Cloudy in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 30. Sunny in Lagos at 25, highs of 32. Sunny in Kampala at 22, highs of 30. Addis Ababa is cloudy at 16, highs of 20. Mogadishu is sunny at 28, highs of 32. Dar es Salaam is partly sunny at 27, highs of 30. Paris, cloudy at 11, highs of 15. London, cloudy at 10, highs of 15. New York, clear skies at 18, highs of 27. Beijing is cloudy at 17. This is the hottest it's going to be today. Then now, from this point on, the temperatures start dropping to a low of 9.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Coming into Westlands from on Wayaki Way, you'll find the traffic at Muga Green Estate, but then it's not so bad as you approach the mall. James Gishuru in and out at ABC is busy, and as you go all the way towards Mzima Springs Road, you will find that traffic stretching there. Then you'll also find quite some good traffic on Red Hill Link Road that stretches all the way from ABC Place to the junction with Lower Kabete, and that's the interchange, no, the underpass at Lower Kabete. Lower Kabete Road itself is not so busy this morning. Langata Road Limuru Road has been quite busy today, so it's still looking pretty busy in Parklands, getting all the way to Red Hill. So Limuru Road and Red Hill Link Road are quite busy, and this is around the UN Crescent. That area for this week has been quite busy. I don't know what's happening right there. That's at the junction with the Limuru Road. Okay, so be careful there. Langata Road has been quite busy as you come towards the T-Mall junction and as you get out. But now it's okay. Langata Road at T-Mall is not so bad, and Magathi Way out of T-Mall, not bad. Mombasa Road into the roundabouts at Nyayo Stadium, Bunyala and Haile Selassie, not so bad. Jogoo Road in and out of City Stadium roundabout, also not bad. And Mombasa Road coming all the way from airport coming to the roundabouts, it's also flowing.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Jackton Fessa says, Faith, good job. If you went for President of Kenya seat, I would give you my vote, raw Safi. There's one thing that you told us, Faith Odhiambo, President of LSK, that one of the comments that you've made is you'd like to see the judiciary being firm and more firm on these cases and the incidences that are happening in the country. Why did you have to say that?
Well, you see, unless courts take up that active role, the citizens then will stop going to courts and go to the streets. You see, courts are the ones that separate and maintain that decorum as a nation. That as much as we have laws, they're the ones who breathe life into those laws. And so the importance that the courts play is quite great, because you remember, if you saw some of the comments of the Gen Zs, Law Society, ideally, every time we have a dispute, and we presented our views also on the Finance Bill 2024, and when they were ignored, Parliament passed, we knew the next step was to go to the courts to challenge the act once it was signed by the head of state. So that's the process that we normally do. But the comments, even from the Gen Zs and those who are in the streets, they were like, well, why should we go to court and they'll ignore court orders, or the court will not issue orders against the state? And so that's the hard place that the courts play. They need to be the firm and the last bulwark for the people of Kenya, because they are the only ones that can breathe life and put a halt to the kind of impunity that we sometimes see from the executive and the legislative arm, because we have also seen the legislative arm purporting to say that court orders cannot interfere with what they're doing, that they can do whatever they want. So you see, courts play quite an integral role, and unless also they take up their space and remain firm, then you'll find that we have a judiciary-led executive.
But then, Faith, the courts have issued orders. The courts have, directed. They have issued injunctions and said, do not proceed with this. This is an order. Come before court and explain yourself. And those have been ignored. What are courts to do? How do courts enforce their orders?
You hold the specific command, those in command are responsible. And I say this because if you see the case that we recently did of the acting Inspector General of Police, it was a clear show of court disobedience, ignorance of court orders, but at the end of the day, they had to come to court and apologize and ask for leniency after a committal sentence had been issued, and the court saw it fit to set aside the same. But you see, if it hadn't gone to that tangent and the court had not been consistent and held firm, irrespective of the challenges that the court had raised, that they felt that they were under attack, which the Law Society also came to just speak strongly about judicial independence. If the court hadn't taken that hard stance, then the kind of impunity we would have seen, ignoring and proceeding to do whatever they want, we would have seen. But you see, that's a lesson to show those in power that the court has actually the powers to hold you personally accountable. so that when the court gives orders of committal, it's not the office of the IG that will go to jail. It is that individual person who the court has committed that shall go to jail. And so it also reminds individual persons that hiding behind that have been given orders doesn't work, because eventually the law catches up to you. And the machinery that is the executive, it always comes full circle, and somebody always has to take the flak for the rest. And so it might turn out to be you. And so it gives that confidence that as long as the courts are consistent, we will stand with them, the people will stand with them, and it comes full circle. Those individuals shall be held personally responsible, which sends a message to the rest that you're not above the law.
There's a disconnect here, Madam President. The disconnect here is the court knows what it should do, it pronounces itself sufficiently clear, but the enforcers clearly do not seem to understand that when it is issued, they ought to actually act.
Yeah.
There's a complete disconnect. It's like the court is speaking to itself. Because if indeed the police service understood that they themselves were part of this process, then it would actually be simple. You could even have an IG being arrested because they have ignored a court order. You could have somebody higher being arrested. Now, if this happened, then people would know, these court orders are not things to be trifled with.
Yeah.
But so long as the police service feel that they take orders from some other source and most definitely not the courts, how do you think we're going to cure this?
We can cure this by, let the courts do their work and then block those who are disobeying those court orders from accessing and benefiting from those same courts. You see, they also have to make a stance. You cannot ignore a court order, then come back to get another court order for something else. You see, those who come to equity must come with clean hands. You can't expect me to, here I've told you bring this, but you refuse, you hold on to it, then you come with another plate and say, serve me this. And you're pretending, the court also must also stop pretending that they're closing their eyes that, this is a different scenario. They must also recognize that they work as our entire judiciary. If they refuse to obey court orders, they should not be given audience before those honorable courts. The same executive and parliament is now before the honorable courts on question of a process that they went through. It's a court matter yet. We're waiting for the decision, so I won't get involved in it. But they're actually pleading for the court to see their side of the story and listen to them and, that their arguments augur better than the other side. And so if these are the same individuals that are ignoring court orders, then you don't allow them audience to those courts and hold them personally accountable. You see, holding and summoning, we've seen scenarios where the former Chief Justice, Maraga, would be summoned before Parliament to answer questions. Why not summon the Speaker of both the Senate, National Assembly, to answer questions before those honorable courts? Because these arms of government, they work independently, but also they work co-independent. They work also together. Interdependently. And so also you assert yourself as the judiciary and summon them to answer, because they cannot on one hand say they're above, they can do whatever they want, and then run to yourselves to seek audience. It's high time courts as well take up their important role and their place and summon these individuals, because when they're in that court, they are before an honorable court of law. They must obey court summons.
Do you think that the court should, basically court A should know what court B and C and D are dealing with?
Well,
because then you say if a matter is before court A, and it involves, for example, taxation measures, and Court A has made a determination on taxation measures, and then there's a matter in Court D on taxation measures, and that plea is now coming from the legislature or the executive. Court D should know what Court A has done, even if it's a separate matter. But the way you are behaving in Court A I should not give you audience in Court D.
Well, if it, let's get it right. So if it's both on tax on the similar issues, there's the way courts organize themselves, those matters can be consolidated if they're on similar issues or be heard before one similar bench if they are concurrent or similar issues that they're dealing with. I would understand a scenario, obviously, if it's totally different matters. But the way our courts work is that, for example, you've refused to obey court orders with regards to summoning, let's say the current matter that is still ongoing, let's say the case of the MCA Wajiri, you've refused to obey a certain court order, you've been summoned, you've refused to attend. Eventually, when they come to you to ask that, because they came back to that same court and asked that this matter be struck out, we purportedly found the court the body. The court can refuse to grant any of those orders until you respond to 1 or 2, 3 issues. Because even before an issue of expelling that matter, you have to bring evidence indeed that body is for that particular individual. But what in essence we need to think about, even as the courts, is that how can we ensure that we apply pressure to some of our orders? You see, they have the option of saying that, one, this is a court of law, they have refused to obey this court order, but we will continue to just give these court orders that sometimes now are put as papers and set aside. The courts have the discretion as well to issue sanctions to those individuals, sanctions that they can say can be extended. We've adopted this new system, which I find quite dangerous in our country, of suspending declarations that we give you time to implement. They should think about now doing the same, though I don't support that narrative, but doing the same in terms of holding individuals accountable. We saw when, I think it was Odunga, when he was a High Court judge, issuing suspended orders, issuing orders that Kinoti would serve sentence, and if he doesn't do it now, when he leaves office, he would still serve that sentence, which now got him scared, because he knew he'd leave that office, and one day he would face jail term. You see, and that's an option, because you can give orders and say that you will leave that office, but this individual is going to serve jail time, or this particular individual fines, which are hefty, will be meted. You see, it sends a message that you're not just sitting and saying, I am weak, there's nothing I can do, I've issued court orders and that is it. Or the other essence is to refuse to grant them audience until they obey court orders, if they're coming back on similar matters or a matter that is still live before court. So the courts, as much as they're saying they're activists and applying themselves based on the raising challenge matters that are coming, for us, or from this side of the divide, when we see suspended orders that you nullify, this is unconstitutional, and then you say, we give you 1 year before this order can be implemented. You see, it augurs a sense that either you're giving a soft bed for the executive and the legislature, and so who gives a soft bed to the people of Kenya? So violate our rights until a time that it's comfortable for you to regularize. It is okay. We as the courts are taking into consideration the rigors of governance and parliamentary challenges. Let's allow parliament to be able to exercise itself. So we as the third arm of government also, we feel that the executive has pressures, and so let's give them time to clean up. But in that time, it's okay if your rights are violated. It's okay if you lose money, because we are giving government time. As citizens, you must understand. And so you see, it augurs against Article 10 of the Constitution, the supremacy of the people. So if you're saying you're the neutral arbiter that is supposed to, protect that right of the people, because the people don't have the power, the executive have the power. Parliament is making laws, and from you see when the movement of the Gen Zs, they were not able to stop parliamentarians from passing those laws. In fact, I saw someone making a joke that in the impeachment process, if they purported, the argument on social media was that they were paid. So, and I'm not saying that they have been paid. So that was the argument on social media. And they were saying, so tell us how much is your value, so we pay you.
So we can, we can match it.
We can match it and have you, they'd kick them all out. But the courts also now, unfortunately, because they are not politicians, they're not playing that politics, must have to balance also thinking about the sovereignty of the people. There has to be that actual, people need to feel, as the saying goes, justice must be done, but must also be seen to be done. When the perception tilts that the judiciary is leaning towards the executive, then they lose that legitimacy that they have as a neutral arbiter. And the unfortunate thing is that because we are a country that is, I would say, we value that ability to have your voice heard, it brings now the question of, are we allowing polarization of people in this country? Because if I cannot rely on you as a neutral arbiter, make that decision, and then people accept, it's painful to accept losses or decisions against you, but you swallow and you say, the court considered this.
My day shall come.
My day shall come one day. But if we feel that it's tilting towards one particular side, then you change the dynamics entirely.
Madam President, we have a Bill of Rights. And one of the things that was happening as this constitution was being written by Kenyans is they were writing it out of the history that they have had with the constitution that they were removing. This was the violation and the blatant violation of their rights by the state. And that's why all these matters were put in and said, we have a judiciary that shall serve this way. We shall have a Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We shall have all these institutions that shall make sure that never again shall the people of Kenya feel as if they are being trampled on by their government, by the state. We are there. People have been disappeared by the government or by elements that nobody knows. People have been arrested. People have, been charged frivolously. People have turned up dead in many cases. We are there right now where people are missing. People are wondering, where are our loved ones? And yet, we have a constitution that is so robust. We have a law society of Kenya that's established by law. As one of the things is, yes, you promote the profession of law, but also the objects and functions of the society are to uphold the Constitution of Kenya and advance the rule of law and the administration of justice. I'm reading that from the LSK Act. The objects and functions of the society. Is it something that this law society can do for the people of Kenya to make sure that we head back to an era where you do not fear being abducted at any time of day, where you can go to court and compel whatever? I don't know, you're the lawyers and you're the society, to make sure that we don't have this? That we don't have bodies lying at City Mortuary, over 100 bodies that are unidentified?
And that's why I say that the law society has played its part. Even before the disposal of the bodies, we went to court, arising the same, and we said there's no proper process that had been put in place. And we have sat with the Nairobi County Council representatives and the CS of the county to just sit and look at a fair process, and the chief pathologist, to ensure that bodies are properly identified, marked, tagged, for the purposes of there being records, because of the resounding fear that bodies of those who may have disappeared would be part, and they would be swept under to be part of those who are disposed of. And so that's something we start to go through together. So and also with regards to moving the courts with parties that have come to us raising concerns, we've been quite active taking up matters pro bono on behalf of members of the public, and also raising constitutional questions before these honorable courts. with regards to how a lot of things have been done over the last 3-4 months in this country. And so we have done our part. The courts must also do our part. It's part of judicial discretion, because the courts make decisions based on ambit, of course, of the law and the discretion of the judge on the matter that is before him. And so as much as we are not in control of the court decisions, but as Law Society, we also criticize our judges as well. And that's why...
Can you move outside the jurisdiction of the Judiciary of Kenya? The minority tribes, some minority tribes have actually moved out of the jurisdiction of Kenya, where they say that we feel that our government is trampling on our rights. If in this particular case, you're saying that the government of Kenya is actually not upholding the constitution, can you go elsewhere and say the people of Kenya are being killed, they are being disappeared, they are buried underground somewhere in Shakahola, they are lying in city mortuary and other mortuaries?
Well, the implementation of those orders will be another thing, because you have to bring it back to our court. So, we don't want to do academic exercises of getting declarations. And we don't want to... I believe that there are still honorable judges, lords, and our certain ladies in our honorable courts that can still do their work and uphold the rule of law. And so we'll continue to call them out, and we'll continue to criticize their decisions, so that they know that they are also up to scrutiny. The same way we criticize the executive and the legislative arm, we shall also criticize the judiciary, because that's the only way that we can have also robust discussions. The only way you know a mind of a judge is through their pen, what they have written at the end of the day. And that's why people must question and also criticize them as well, because that is part and parcel of growth and part of democracy, because we have to raise our concerns and challenges. We might welcome certain decisions they have made, and of course reject certain decisions they have made, but they also must open themselves to be scrutinized and also criticized, because that is part and parcel. They hold public offices, and by virtue of that, they're enjoying public coffers. They must be accountable to the people of Kenya.
So this has to be a continuing conversation. It never ceases.
It never ceases.
Okay. Madam President, thank you for joining us.
Thank you as well.
In the next hour, we'll be talking about that matter of bodies that are lying in mortuaries, in morgues, that have to be disposed of. But then, what happens to them? Who are they? How do we ensure that they are properly identified? What do our laws say? Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Come again soon. Faith Odhiambo is the 51st President of the Law Society of Kenya. She's been our guest. And keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 SpiceFM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubag. The second suspect in the Wells Fargo human resource manager Willis Ayeko murder has succumbed to her injuries after a shootout with police who recovered his stolen pistol yesterday. The woman was taken to a hospital in Yala, where she succumbed hours later. Meanwhile, detectives are still pursuing at least 6 suspects in connection with the murder of Ayeko. So far, 3 have been arrested, with one of them being placed at the scene of the attack. The other 2 are women believed to be girlfriends of the prime suspects at large. Director of DCI Mohammed Amin said the motive was yet to be known, indicating those arrested so far were not directly involved in the murder of Ayeko. The process of reconstituting the new IEBC could be far from over after High Court, in the latest twist, stopped the names of the selection committee from being sent to President William Ruto. The High Court in Nakuru stopped National Assembly Clerk Jeremiah Nyeng'enye from forwarding the names of the IEBC selection committee for appointment. Justice Dora Chepkwony further restrained the clerk from publishing or gazetting the names pending determination of the case. The decision comes at a time when opposition parties parties led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his DAPK counterpart Eugene Wamalwa are demanding for the swift gazettement of the IEBC selection panel to facilitate the formation of the electoral body.
It is obvious they want to prolong this whole thing about establishing a new IEBC. We say it plainly.
So we are here as the opposition to demand immediate gazettement of the IEBC selection panel.
The leader's father accused National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula and National Assembly's clerk Samuel Njoroge of sitting pretty on 9 names instead of forwarding them to the president.
There has been no movement in Parliament deliberately to delay this process. Who should move with speed to put in place the new IEBC, and we should stop these shenanigans and sideshows that have caused the delay for all this period.
Now, there's an increase in the number of teenage girl pregnancies being reported in Kilifi County, with fears that it may go up, especially now that there is a 2-month-long holiday. Marafa Hospital manager Gilbert Angore further says that this has led to a rise in fistula cases among these teenage girls.
Tuliongelea kuhusu huu ugonjwa wa fistula, tukapata kwamba wasichana wetu wanazaa kabla na wanapasuka huku chini, na tukarealize ya pili early pregnancies zimezidi huku magarini. Wasichana wetu wanaingia mimba mapema. Nataka tuzunguke twende huku nyanjani, tukende tukaeducate watoto wetu kwamba athari za hizi early pregnancies.
The High Court will today decide whether to lift an order blocking the swearing-in of Deputy President-designate Kithure Kindiki. As sought by the Attorney General and Parliament, a 3-judge bench of Justices Eric Ogola, Anthony Murima and Freda Mugambi will also rule whether the High Court has powers to determine the petitions challenging the ouster of Rigathi Gachagua. Through lawyer Muthomi Thiankulu, Kindiki challenged the jurisdiction of the High Court to hear the more than 30 petitions on Gachagua's removal from office. This event comes as Gachagua has expressed confidence in the judiciary, saying he believes it will give him justice.
We have faith that our judiciary will protect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and will exercise fairness and give justice to Rigathi Gachagua and his supporters. That is our prayer. But I want to ask for peace, more so to my people of the Mount Kenya region. Please remain peaceful. Love one another. Stay well with all other regions and communities. They have not wronged us. They are our friends. Kenya is bigger than all of us, and we don't have another Kenya. We only have one Kenya. And I want to say, irrespective of what will happen, the outcome of the court process, let our people remain peaceful and build our country. A time will come for us to speak.
And in the international scene, US and South Korea have faltered a new military alliance between Russia and North Korea. The two countries believe that an estimated 10,000 North Korean troops have already been deployed in Russia to fight against Ukraine. US Defense Secretary Austin Lloyd said that Russia has lost a lot of troops since the onset of the war, necessitating Kim Jong's backing for President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Western countries have, however, raised concerns over what North Korea leader Kim might demand from Putin in exchange for his troops. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so Outer Ring Road, there's something happening, and this is around Feather Estate, but we know normally what happens around this time. This is matatus, they go there, they block the road, so they just create a lot of traffic. And that's what you will find on Outer Ring Road. Donholm Road and Manyanja Road are starting to get a bit busy again. Jogoo Road around Makadara, that usual area, usually has that usual problem. Now let's come to Mombasa Road. As you head towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, Mombasa Road is actually looking all right. Nyayo Stadium roundabout is only busy a little bit, so it's affecting traffic from Langata Road. And then Bunyala Road is looking all right. Bunyala Road heading up towards Upper Hill is busy. No, coming down from Upper Hill is busy as you approach Bunyala roundabout. That also affect Douglas Wakihori Road. Mbagathi Way is now all right, all the way up to the City Mocho roundabout. That's where you'll find a bit of traffic. Coming towards town from Westlands, you will not find much traffic, but you will find traffic once you get to the Museum Hill interchange. So there around University of Nairobi towards University Way, there's quite a bit of traffic. Also Kipande Road, there's traffic, and also on Muranga Road, there is traffic. Thika Superhighway is the only area that's left with traffic now. Kiambu Road, nothing much. There's been issues on Limuru Road heading in towards Muthaiga Avenue. Muthaiga is fine now. Lower Kabete Road is now okay. James Gishuru Road is just slightly busy.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation.
All right, it's 8 minutes after 9. How are you doing? Welcome to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the final hour of this show this month. Lydia, please remember, we're closing this show today with Gone Till November. That one we must, because we'll be gone till November. Right? 31st of October 2024. Are you prepared for November? You should be. One of the things that you should be prepared for with November is the official Study in Ireland Fair that's going to be taking place on the 9th of November at Gallant Mall in Parklands between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. And the organizers are Cradle. City is spelled Cradle.
Craydel.
Very good.
Yes.
And so spelled cradle.com.
Craydel _com.
Very good. Very, very good. If you go onto that website, you should register for the Study in Ireland Fair. Entry is by invitation only. Why should you go for this? Because you'll find you can apply for a university slot on the spot. You can get visa consultation. You'll be helped on the application of visas to go and study in Ireland. You can also get amazing scholarships. From which universities? The top universities in Ireland will all be in Nairobi on that day. University College Cork, Independent College, Dublin City University, Technological University of the Shannon, University of Limerick, University of Galway, Griffith College. All of them will be in Parklands on that day. All you need to do is CRAYDEL_com. Register. And you? Very good. Now, as we had said, today it's all going to be on justice and justice and justice. Our third arm of our justice conversation today is on people who have died, people whose bodies have then ended up in mortuaries, but those bodies have not been claimed by loved ones, or so we are told. And so, because the law says this, at some point, those bodies have got to be disposed of by the government. The question is, but how can you be alive, live through several years, you're in this country, you end up dead and nobody knows who you are?
Oh, nobody's looking for you.
And nobody's looking for you. Up to a point where you actually now are just going to be married in an unmarked grave. How? How does it happen?
Why we say that all your relatives died, so there's no one to claim you? Again, how is that possible?
How is that possible? It's even neighbors would know this person. We haven't seen them for a while, and the investigating agencies would be saying, all right, so maybe this person described them. This is how they look like. That matches with the body that is on our records, that was found in such and such a place. I mean, really. That's why we've brought in a forensic specialist to have this conversation with us. Dr. Maina is our guest. Good morning, Dr. Haring.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Karibu. We are going to talk about that. I mean, what the law says, what the challenges are, how is it that we have unidentified bodies, how does the body become unidentified, how should we be able to identify this? I mean, we've got technology now, we've got DNA, we've got all this. Anyway, first, before we do that, City is going to give you a proverb. City goes to an African country every week and brings us 5 proverbs from that week. So this week, this is the 4th proverb from the state of Libya.
Libya.
Okay.
Yes. Libya comprised of 3 regions. Was one called Tripolitania, Fezzan, and Cyrenaica.
Cyrenaica.
Yes.
Okay.
So Sisi.
So where is Benghazi? Is it in Fezzan?
I'm actually
Tripolitania. I can see Tripoli is in Tripolitania.
Yes, but
where is Benghazi?
I know it's within the country, but in which of these states it belongs to, I cannot tell you. Yes,
Okay.
but maybe someone else can look and tell us where it is that you will find Benghazi.
Sawa.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Walk with sandals until you get good shoes.
Yes.
Dr. Kelsey, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Well, I would say it's similar to do not despise the time of small beginnings. I would also say that it shows us that we're getting to good shoes, or hopefully getting to accountable governance, means then that you can wear sandals. But I think since 1963, we have worn sandals for long.
I mean, we are due for shoes.
Yeah, I think so.
Surely.
It's due season.
We're due for our good shoes.
You know what your interpretation does? It tells us that we are accustomed to walking barefooted.
Yeah.
So when we have sandals, we think it's a big thing.
Yes.
And yet there are
We
shoes
think
that
that's
could...
what is the new shoe.
we are good. And yet there are shoes that could be worn. Okay. So...
Larry Kraft says, Kelsey, good to see you. You know who Larry Kraft is? Okay, well, they're just happy to see you.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Nice to hear from you.
Okay, what do you do for a living?
Oh, well, I've
Many
done
things.
many things. But basically, I work as a forensic specialist. I've worked in forensic death investigation operations. I've done that for Ministry of Health for 12 years. I then resigned from the Ministry of Health. In between, I've also done work for the International Committee of the Red Cross. I worked in forensic humanitarian actions where there's armed conflict or situations of violence, deaths from the migration crisis. I've done policy work for the International Development Law Organization in Somalia, helping to establish their forensic strategy and framework. Also done research in the forensic space, doing assessments to see what the state of forensic science in a country is. I've worked with the Argentine forensic anthropology team in some of their human rights investigations work in countries like Central African Republic.
So what's a forensic specialist? What's forensics?
So forensics is essentially an adjective. It comes from the word forum, where you are debating about an issue, and is essentially now applied to a scientific technique. You use a scientific method. You apply it to an investigation, and the outcome of that scientific analysis may then be produced in a courtroom.
And when it comes to death, what role does forensics play?
So forensics in death investigation, forensics helps us to establish the cause, the manner, and the mechanism of a death. Essentially, people will talk about the primary issue being cause of death. In the issue of unidentified bodies, and unclaimed bodies, unidentified persons cases, where the person is believed to be dead, then forensics is not just about the death investigation, but it's about the forensic human identification. So who is that person?
So how do you identify a person? So let's say Okay, as you're getting closer into the topic of the day, the police pick up a body. They've been called by a community and told there's a body here.
Mm-hmm.
Then the police come and they pick a body and then they take it to a mortuary. So how do you go about identifying who this person is?
Okay, well, maybe... Okay, when the police pick the body, they should not just pick the body. They should call the crime scene people, and then there should be an internal law enforcement procedure for how a body is removed from a scene where the death is questioned.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you then identify a body? Well, then either there is a hypothesis, like a presumption. We know who this person is, and this person lives here, and this person died here. So the community and the neighbors, they're like, or the relatives are like, yes, this is my mother. She was living alone in the village, huyu ni yeye. So there's a presumption that the identity of that person is known. There is the case where now a body may be picked up and nobody knows who that person is, or found in a location where people are like, this is a strange happening, and so we don't know who this person is. To move from, where the body has been found to the identity of the person will depend on the state of the body. So is the body, is it a fresh, what we call fresh body? So your flesh, you have your flesh and you just died, it's probably been a couple of hours. Or is the body decomposing already? Is the body, because decomposition is a natural process that the body will undergo, and the body starts to decompose, which means you start to lose visual characterization. So you lose the visual characteristics that a person would be used to when they see you in life. And so visual recognition is prone to error. And then once you have the body that is, so you have a body that's fresh, has a different has varying a different way to identify. And identification is not just one line of evidence. You say the face looks like the person. Governments are responsible for investigating crime through law enforcement, and so it's not sufficient to have one line of evidence. The international best practice is that you would have two lines of evidence. So even if I can see it's you, but I can take fingerprints and cross-check against the fingerprint database in the country if that's available and say, yes, we confirmed that this is so-and-so. So you move from fresh to decomposing. You can end up with fragmented remains, like from a plane crash, burnt beyond recognition, from a bus that caught fire. You can move to a fully skeletonized body. It's found somewhere in like migrants cross the Libyan desert trying to get into Europe through the Mediterranean. And so you find now you have skeletonized remains all through the migratory path. And so if a body is skeletonized, is it wet skeletonized? Like, does it still have some tissue on it? Or is it dry skeletonization? So it will depend. Identity, forensic human identification is a scientific process.
Right. Yeah. And it's a deep one, like you've said. Are there laws that govern this process? For example, in this country called Kenya, right? What laws are in place, or regulations, or just procedures that have been documented that govern this?
So essentially, okay, there are several laws governing death. So, for example, there are sections like Section 385 to 388 of the Criminal Procedure Code that talks about a magistrate's capacity to hold a death in an inquest. There are Anatomy Act laws that a body can be given to an anatomy school for dissection. There are laws such as the Health Act that came about in 2017 that has like 2 articles on postmortem. now there's the Coroner Service Act, but it's also now being amended.
Already
Even before implementation, yes. So there have been challenges with the deaths, with the management of deaths in the country, and the fragmentation of laws. The National Coroner Service Act came to sort of like consolidate the legislation on death management, and like, for example, what's a reportable death? Can a community come and say, look, this is our religious belief, and so that supersedes an investigation. It came to consolidate the legislation, but there are several different pieces. Like any law dealing with fingerprints would impact the death legislation. I mean, so it's there are very many like even if you have the Borstal Institutions Act. What happens if a juvenile dies in a Borstal institution? What happens if a person dies in police custody or state custody? Let me put it that way. What about the issue of the Evidence Act, where it talks about that a person can only be declared missing essentially after 7 years. The fact that there is no the convention on enforced disappearance is not a legal term. So who's an unclaimed body, and what's an unidentified body? So, in my mind as a practitioner, that is, unclaimed is, okay, we know who it is, but nobody has come to claim. Okay, that in when I think about my practice,
that's your interpretation.
That's my interpretation. Unidentified means we don't know the identity of this person.
But stop right there. How is it that you do not know the identity of the person and the body is there?
So, yes. So now there are two avenues of how forensic human identification is carried out. One, you have the side of a body without an identity, which is what we as forensic specialists would see in mortuaries or as part of our work. So we can have bodies without identities, and now we are in charge of establishing, using the body, the identity of that person, coming up with an identity, like a biological identity in a sense. Is it a human? Okay.
Number one.
Yes, like you can be brought for bones, and told, okay, hizi mifupa daktari ni za umbwa, ni za mnyama, ni za, so, ni ya binadamu, so you can, so we have to be able to say, yes, it's human, it's adult, or it's a child, these, and so that's on us.
All right.
But is the sex female? So, for example, I tell you, like women's pelvis, we do sexing of the skeleton through the pelvis and the skull. Men have, the male species has a thicker skeleton and a larger cranium, and yes.
So they have big heads.
Men are thick-headed.
I think that's more it. Well, somewhere over here, with the eyebrows, it's really thick. But their pelvis is narrow. Women's and more for locomoting, The women's pelvis is designed for childbirth. So a baby's head cannot fit in a male pelvis, but the female pelvis is designed to accommodate the baby's head. So from the pelvis we can tell the sex of the skeleton. Using population standards and research that's been carried out, and where it's not been carried out, but for stature. Like, what is the stature of the African skeleton?
What does stature mean here?
Here it would mean height.
Okay.
Yeah. What is that for a Caucasian? So biologically we may have very offensive terms, right? So we go for Mongoloid. Like I would be seen as a Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and a Negroid. So the population standards, the research, has it been carried out for now you to say, okay, this one we are sure, because sometimes in the morgue, you will have morticians come tell you, or mortuary attendants say, daktari huyu ni Sudanese. You understand? Because the person is so tall and, their legs are, beyond the autopsy table. But we know that that's not true. Most Nilotic people are very have
they're lanky.
They are tall, yes. So so this is how we determine these things.
To identification is starting from there, starting from human to come into sex, to come into likely race, to come into all those things. It's a process of identification.
Yes.
Up to a point where then you're able to tell, okay, so this is probably Eric.
Yes, like if you had a medical procedure, like let's say Eric has a prosthesis, on his left side, on the left leg, and we are too, and in the morgue we have a body that has a prosthesis.
Okay, prosthesis is who exactly?
Oh, sorry. It's a medical device, like let's say for the one that you have in case someone is amputated in the leg and they would need to have, I don't want to use the word fake leg, but yes, an artificial leg.
Artificial leg, yes.
So that's what we use. We use the medical history, we use the dental history, we use we fingerprint the body, we will take pictures, we will do x-rays of the body. Actually a full, what is called a low dose x-ray of a full body or a CT scan. That is the normal standard way on our end in mortuaries. On the death investigation side, where we have the body without identity, that's what we would do.
Okay. So all those things should be happening at the mortuary.
Yes, in any forensic any facility where forensic death investigation is occurring, at this level of international standard best practice, that should happen.
Okay, so ideally, what we are saying that if that unidentified body has been picked up from a, wherever it was picked up, crime scene, and the crime scene, whatever has happened on that end, when it comes to the morgue, then the next person that they should call is a forensic specialist, such as yourself.
Yes, they should.
So you come in here.
Yeah.
So let's even say that this body is still flesh. Flesh. Which one comes first? Is it flesh or fresh?
Flesh fresh.
Flesh fresh. Okay. So it's a full body that has everything here.
Eric, say that again.
Flesh fresh.
Okay, good.
Akona meno, akona kila kitu. It's here, and it's not decomposing. It's not being decapitated. So full body is here. You should now be called in and now go through the motion of identifying who this person is and how they died, the cause of death.
Yes.
So how can we end up with unidentified bodies?
So now let's talk about so we have, that's one component, bodies without identities inside the mortuary undergoing a post-mortem process of forensic human identification and post-mortem of forensic death investigation process. On the other end, we have the police or the law enforcement officers who are supposed to undertake the criminal investigation side of things. That's another element of this multidisciplinary work. And then there's another side, which is not the side of how does a country deal with the families of missing persons? When you lodge a report of a person is missing, what is the next law enforcement action? Because in countries where I would say these are not blurred or not well understood, an ante-mortem unit is supposed to be within the law enforcement, because it is the state's responsibility to find out, to be able to account for its citizenry. So someone has to follow the investigation and contextual analysis of the disappearance of this person. And that's still an investigation.
What?
And when a state does not have that capacity or has not built that capacity, acknowledged or valued that capacity, then the problem now is you end up with civilians trying to fill that gap. And that's something I noted during, I noted when, when Missing Child Kenya came up. So someone a civilian has to now sit and say, look, last seen like at this time, wearing these clothes, and honestly, I think that is tragic because all these three elements, even and I put the criminal investigation, but the reason I'm separating it is for simplicity of understanding. But there's the bodies without identities in the morgue, but there's identities without bodies. And so when you have identities without bodies, what is state action? So I think that's...
and all these things, they are laws that say there should be a correlation.
They should be.
Because the people have reported their kin missing.
Yes.
And police have reported finding a body.
Yes.
And morgues are holding a body. Then there should be a way in which we are cross-referencing and saying, let's rule out.
Yeah, that process is called the integration of the reconciliation of information.
Integration of the reconciliation.
Yes, of information, post-mortem, which means after death, and ante-mortem, which means before death. Okay. So currently, the infrastructure for that is lacking. It only has happened in certain circumstances where we've had disaster. The disaster response towards this issue has been, I would say there's like a woye. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the English word.
That's a good English word.
Yeah. There's like a woye for, we have to do this, right?
Yeah, because we know that there are people who are missing here, the people who've died here, and we've got to identify them. Case in point, for example, the Asha school fire.
Yes.
We know that there are children whose parents are here.
Exactly.
And there were children in this dormitory, and we have bodies.
Yes.
So we go through that process of identification. That woye is not same standard. For example, it's not same standard being applied in Shakahola.
I had resigned by the time Shakahola happened. So I don't know, but I think...
So you can speak freely and say, from your observation.
I can. At least what I can say is that from the time I joined Ministry of Health in the Division of Forensic and Pathology Services, which was in June 2007, the infrastructure for this integrated multidisciplinary approach towards human identification had not been established. And so Shakahola would be the first largest skeletonized, I would say the largest forensic anthropology case. But because we don't have a forensic anthropologist in Kenya, yes, because pathologists examine flesh fresh. Forensic odontologists examine teeth, dentition, for changes, for age, for trauma. Anthropologists examine skeletons. So the largest, it was essentially the largest case for forensic anthropology in our country. But I did not see any publicly available information of a forensic anthropologist or even a forensic anthropology team being allowed to come to Kenya or being requested to come to Kenya to handle that. So essentially, we kind of like place a burden on, the chief government pathologist and his team to stretch beyond their technical capacity. They do have the understanding of what is required. But you see, the other thing now I cannot speak for is whether these kind of requests were ever made and whether they were, they were provided or not.
Let's take a break. It's 25 minutes to 10. We are hosting Dr. Maina. She is a forensic specialist. We are talking about cases of forensic human identification. Many bodies lying in many morgues, being held at Shakahola and all. Have they been identified? What are the challenges? What are the ethical issues around identification of bodies and disposing them? 24 to 10. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hi everyone. You may have heard about the official Study in Ireland fair happening next month on November 9th. Can you tell us what the students can expect?
University College Cork, or UCC as we call it, is situated in the heart of Cork City. We are the second largest city in Ireland. We have a wide variety of undergraduate and master courses in UCC. UCC was voted the 6th most sustainable university in the world, something that we're very proud of. And also, we were voted the best student campus in the Education Awards in 2021 and 2022. We look forward to seeing you in Ireland, in Cork, in UCC.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone make sure to visit the official Study in Ireland Fair at the Gallant Mall, Parklands on November 9th. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444.
I know mko na talents, lakini mko na vibe. It's time to discover East Africa's newest talent. Ni muda wa Kenya kuchachisha. Anguka nayo kati toka, utuonyeshe hizi stunts zako. Africa's biggest talent show, Bongo Star Search, is coming to Kenya. Stand a chance to win amazing prizes and work with the biggest names in entertainment. My judges, wakiongozwa na Rita, Master J, Salama Jabir, and our very own Sanaipe Itande, watakuwa pale tukicheka na tukilia. Tulieni mpangwe wasee. From majenzi hadi wakoro, students na corporates, jitokeze tujue nani mzii. Tukutane Kenya National Theatre on Friday 29th and Saturday 30th November. Kosa uchekwe brother. BSS Season 15, sasa Beyond Borders. Si mchezo. Tune in to ST Swahili Channel 160 or 400 every Sunday at 9 p.m. and on Wednesday for an extra highlights show at 8:30 p.m. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
The weather with SpiceFM.
It's warming up in Nairobi. It's 21 degrees now. Highs of 28 later today. It's currently 26 in Kakamega. That's very hot for Kakamega. Highs of 30. It's 29 in Mombasa. Highs of 32. 29 in Malindi as well. Highs of 32. It's 20 in Eldoret. Highs of 27. 26 in Kisumu. Highs of 30. Nyeri is warm. It's 23. Highs of 28. Nakuru 21. Highs of 29. Kampala, it's 24, highs of 30. Kinshasa, 26 and cloudy, highs of 30. Cloudy in Johannesburg at 17, highs of 27. 26 and sunny in Lagos, highs of 32. Sunny and hot in Mogadishu at 30, highs of 32. Warm and cloudy in Addis Ababa at 18, highs of 20. Dar es Salaam partly sunny at 27, highs of 30. Paris is cloudy at 10, highs of 15. London is cloudy at 10, highs of 15 as well. Beijing is warm and cloudy at 17. It's starting to drop. It'll go to lows of 9. New York is clear skies of 17. It'll rise and to the highs of 27.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So, Dr. we continue our conversation. Dr. Musa Kalsi, who's our forensic specialist, who's our guest. Dr. we are seeing this number of cases of bodies in morgues. And the Nairobi City County government has said, all right, we have all these bodies. Our morgue is full. We have bodies that have not been claimed, and we have got to deal with them. How do we end up with so many unclaimed bodies in our mortuaries? It's not just that. Even KNH periodically keeps announcing that we are holding so many bodies, especially for KNH. They say many of them are children. We are holding so many bodies in our mortuary, and we have to dispose of them.
All right. Okay. So I think there are several reasons why bodies could become unclaimed. One, I think they could be I mean, this from my experience with even talking to families is first of all, essentially they could be fear, and also stigma, like. Someone's relative was found as, the suicide bomber in a case. Mm-hmm. So that family is like, we are embarrassed. We don't know how this happened. Are we to blame? So now you find that the family, is stigmatized by the issue. Mm. You find sometimes like the state itself is like, no, if we allow the family to bury a body, You know, they might make people might make a martyr out of this person.
Yeah.
I've been asked about why Osama bin Laden was buried at sea. You know, also affordability. So people are like, the more the body stays in the morgue, we can't afford. We can't afford. And if the person now is found like 3-4 months later, and now a family comes to know, and the family lives in Bungoma, and they have to travel to Nairobi, then now they're thinking about the transport costs. Now we have to also pay the mortuary costs, because now, since the identity is known, you have relatives, so someone has to pay this bill. So sometimes families might just say, then let the body be disposed of. And actually, that maybe I should make that correction. I hear, that kind of word being said, bodies being disposed. It's actually what we should say is bodies being respectfully disposition, undergoing respectful disposition, because also morgue congestion is a real thing. So what has happened even in other places in the world, like in Sudan, just before the conflict began in mid-April last year, there were like already 3,000 bodies in the mortuary. Families did not want those bodies to be buried because they wanted an investigation of those bodies. But those bodies were in a mortuary, that could not properly preserve those bodies. So the bodies were essentially commingling and sludging, because now human tissue is sludging on top of one another when they're not buried in body bags. I mean, when they're not kept in body bags, so there's no barrier between that and the next body. And then also then exposing it to scavenging. And then, looking at a potential health hazard. So a long-term burial can be short-term or long-term. The temperature underground is actually cooler. So if you collect all the preliminary data from a body, you do the investigation, the postmortem investigation, you can actually keep that body underground properly in what is called an organized mass grave. Those are terms that unfortunately we have had to develop as forensic practitioners globally, because in places like there's armed conflict, what do you do? Or there's like an earthquake, like let's say, hopefully that it never happens. But if anything happened in Kenya, like a sizable event, where we had even like 1,000 or 3,000 bodies, or even more, then what would we do? Would we allow people to just bury a body wherever they found it? Then how do we account for who that person is?
So sometimes these burials are actually some form of storage as well.
Actually, they're just meant to be storage, and they're not meant to prevent any traceability. They're supposed to enhance traceability. So you should know where you buried the body, what number it was tagged, who that body belongs to in terms of the case report on the post-mortem forensic human identification death investigation side.
Right.
And then you allow families. So like, for example, even something simple like clothing and personal effects that were found on the body. What I found in my experience is these are just everything is just...
it's all lumped together.
It is not managed appropriately. So what should happen in the morgue is once all clothing and personal effects should be properly examined. And sometimes you may even have to wash the clothing to examine it properly. So that kind of like even a laundry service in a mortuary is not available. So what happens now is you find that you can't even dry those clothes, you can't even take pictures of them, you can't even put them in a catalog, so that when families come and we say, okay, let's go through first personal effects. What do you know? What was the person wearing? Or, So I think all this, it plays a role into the lack of traceability. And so you have this unclaimed, can be for various reasons. Even unidentified. But I would say, at this point is the other thing is I think we are very averse to research or paying money for research, or the cost of corruption is the fact that we don't have research to inform policy. Is that when was the last research done on death management systems in the country? And
when was the last time you heard of our universities focusing their attention on research?
I think
I'm talking about public
maybe I would be also guilty. It's just you go through university and you're like, you just want to finish this thing,
Very true.
You see, so I think that by the time you get to realize the value of research, you are so far gone in your career that now you're like, oh my gosh, now how do we do it? Someone has to fund it. Will someone actually be willing to fund it? And I think the problem with scientific fields, and I would say in this regard, forensic medicine, because this is the medicine of the postgraduate specialty that handles this work, is that it's not a priority. So I think this is a very African experience. What gets funded in Africa for science gets funded by institutions outside of the African continent. And so they fund what is in their interest, in their agenda. So they set priorities for research. So public health is huge. Okay, but where is forensic medicine in the scale of all this? It involves dead, missing, injured persons.
No money.
And yet the countries we speak of, part of the reason why they are where they are is because they focus on research. A lot of what they've done, the heights they have reached, whether it's in industry or commerce, research has been at the forefront. Whether it's medicine, whether it's you think of any discipline.
It's true.
Their focus and emphasis on research is one of the elements that help propel them to exactly where they are. And yet we who need it the most don't seem to understand that it's something that we ought to give attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the tragedy of it. So if you look at even where I used to work, which was Ministry of Health, the focus was malaria, TB, HIV. So this government of this pathologist office, what do you people do anyway? You understand? In fact, I remember a previous DMS telling me one day, Doctor, even Jesus said, leave the dead to the dead.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, so the dead are not a cohort. So what are we doing in this ministry? But then you also can't be in interior, because this is the reason why police pathologists were no longer made a thing in Kenya, was because they couldn't be impartial on the process of death investigation. And so the issue around forensic medicine, forensic science, science brings objectivity to the table and objectivity to the investigation. So that's why a forensic service, whether we like it or not, must be an independent service.
Okay. Is this what the National Coroners Act was doing?
Well, the National Coroners Act is, like I said, trying to consolidate legislation on deaths. The National Coroner Service Act cannot replace the need for a Forensic Services and Regulatory Act, which Kenya does not have. So there's so much about forensics, like, for example, traffic medicine. How do you know someone is fit to drive beyond a certain age? You understand what I'm saying?
There's something called traffic medicine.
Yes, traffic medicine is forensic medicine. When a plane goes down, how do you identify the people, for example, who died in the plane crash in Ethiopia a few years ago? Majority of them were Kenyans. But what was the forensic human identification response? I remember really pushing hard to have myself and another colleague be part of Interpol's team. But when we came back, we were asked a very serious question and asked, are you people really supposed to be in this ministry?
What?
Yes. So I think I would say it's a lack of knowledge. And because we haven't, as a country, had the forensic conversation, we haven't opened the forensic conversation to become an inclusive conversation, we are really missing a lot of, for example, age assessment. How do you tell a child is 14? You know, how do you, when you say we have sent you for age assessment, what are you actually doing? You're actually asking for a scientific analysis of age. So we have not, when a migrant worker dies in Saudi Arabia, you know, what is the forensic medical response, death investigation response at our regional delegation in the Middle East?
Dr. Ari, I want to take you back to something you said. It triggers a thought in my mind. When you look at the focus we have as far as the various disciplines within medicine is concerned, is it really ignorance, Or is it the aspects, the various disciplines that promise someone a bigger earning at the end of it? Let me explain to you why I'm asking the question. If you look at even when you studied, that Department of Public Health, for many people who study the discipline that you're in, it wasn't taken too seriously.
No.
And yes, exactly, because it wasn't emphasized. But yet, a country like ours actually requires a very serious focus on that, because then we focus on preventative and promotive health, which we don't. We talk about it, okay? Now, if you're talking about the dead and you look at the taboos and the myths and misconceptions that we have around death, when you're a doctor who deals with the death, is it that what you have studied is not relevant, or they don't understand the relevance, or on the scale of what they think priorities ought to be? There was a time when professors and dons felt that women should not study anything postgraduate apart from pediatrics. And they would say so.
Yeah.
Those biases exist.
They do.
And why I'm saying you're right is that there's a misinformation, and that bias, is it really ignorance, or is it just blatant, what word can I use which is polite? Nothing comes to mind, so I'll just use the word. I'll just leave it, yes.
Okay, well, I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot to be discussed. I think a lot of, first of all, forensic medicine is not something that you would see, people saying go into forensic medicine. Because people are like, in fact, for an intern to be told go do a postmortem, first of all, is way outside their bracket. Because undergrad cannot teach you how to do should not, let me put it this way, teach you how to do a postmortem. That is the work of a pathologist who has done a master's in forensic medicine. So there's a lot that needs to be, for example, how many masters in forensic medicine do we have in the country?
How many?
Not many. There are very few. In contrast to the size of our population.
By very few, what do you mean? 100?
No. Pathologists, yes. Forensic pathologists, probably less than 10.
Less than 10?
Yeah, less than 10.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say, I think that this issue of forensic medicine being not acknowledged, not valued, not acknowledged, not budgeted for within the governance framework is what has caused a lot of institutions to be to be crippled. Sorry. You cannot run a National Commission of Human Rights without understanding forensic medicine or forensic sciences or evidence management. You really need to be able to know that very well. You can have an investigation component, but the reality is you can't be oblivious of the field. You can't do it in the, evidence management is critical for a strong criminal justice system. It's very important for anything. If you talk about sexual and gender-based violence, maritime, financial crimes, you talk about, drugs and crime, you talk about homicides, femicide. I mean, the list is endless. It's all forensic medicine. But that's why the problem is the law has been so fragmented because of lack of knowledge. And now because of turf wars, you can't. Globally, there's a forensic advisory board. There are forensic advisory boards, but Kenya, we don't even have a forensic advisory board, unfortunately. And
is there anything that you're doing, you and your fellow forensic scientists, a few of you that you are, to work to talk in the corridors, to go into offices, go into forums and talk about this, create that awareness? Because of what I'm hearing from you is much of what we are seeing is just lack of awareness and therefore lack of placing importance. When a director of medical services is asking you, so you just let mambo of death be death, this is just lack of awareness.
It is lack of awareness. I think for a long time it's been lack of awareness. I think now we have crossed a certain line where things could become very convenient for not having systems.
I see.
Yeah. And I think when the line between how perpetration of crimes is handled, how investigation of crimes is handled, how scientific analysis of evidence is handled, how adjudication of that evidence is handled in the courts, when the lines between those aspects starts becoming blurry, they can be blurry because of lack of knowledge. They could have been blurry because of lack of knowledge, ignorance, refusal to put money in the right places, corruption. But I think when now it starts to move to where it's now working conveniently to create missing persons, where now you have a problem. Now you have a problem. Because it means the governance framework is skewed or is deliberately dilute, to get away with crime. So I think that is huge. So I would say the unidentified person, unclaimed persons, biggest ethical issues is we are creating missing persons. And then we also have a big problem of if you misidentify one person, you've misidentified two people.
Yeah.
So you need to study this thing very well. It's like having, the red Skittles, and the green Skittles and the brown Skittles and the blue Skittles and the purple ones, and everything is just commingled. You actually need to do research to develop a proper forensic ecosystem to address crimes and human rights violations in a country. And I would say what we are doing, I talk about this as much of a chance I get, I talk about it. I would say the lack of knowledge has even been not just in terms of where I worked in terms of government or interagency action, but the lack of knowledge was also there because I would say I guess even if I was a PS or a minister, my diary does not include talking to Daktari who has an issue on, a cardiologist doctor wants to do a presentation to me or a forensic medicine person. But I think there must be a way to acknowledge all fields of medicine and the value that they bring. But I think the lack of knowledge has also been outside of government. And I think today now we find ourselves at a point where people inside of government and outside of government are also asking these very serious questions, and there must be answers to these questions.
In this field, must someone necessarily be a medical doctor to be able to participate in forensic science?
No. Forensic science is for scientists. And science makes doctors. So I think we need to, so forensic science is...
Natural science makes for doctors.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the field is wide, and I think the core is the science.
Okay. Dr. we thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for this conversation. Dr. Maina Kalsi is a forensic specialist. She's been our guest for this hour, getting to understand what forensics is and the role that it plays. It's 10 a.m. Have a lovely day. We had said we're going to end with this song.
Okay, don't know.
Yes.
We are gone until November. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.
Okay.
Good morning. This is the news.